5 quarterbacks taken in this 1999 draft in the first 12 picks. To put it in perspective, only once have we had more quarterbacks go in the entire first round. That was 1983 when we had 6. But through 12 picks in that draft, only 2 had gone. John Elway, Todd Blackledge. So we have never had this many quarterbacks go this high, and the record all time is 6. One quarterback who was the 3rd pick overall with the Cincinnati Bengals, Keely Smith, came from seemingly nowhere. Who is this young man who wears the green for the Ducks? He's in the crosshairs.
My name is Keely Smith from the University of Oregon. Well, my full name, my full name is Kabisa Akili Mardufu Smith. My dad got my name out of the Swahili dictionary, and that means power, intelligence, and creativity. And I'm definitely glad he named me that. My dad had went through a lot of turmoil in his life, his early stages of his life, and he always vowed that I wouldn't go through anything that he went through. He did a terrific job of raising me, keeping me out of trouble. Actually, my first year in Pop Warner, I played defensive line, but I got cut because I was too young. And that following year, my dad put me at quarterback, and I've been playing quarterback since Mighty Mike, since the age of 7. Well, playing minor league baseball at the age of 17 through the age of 19 helped me mature a lot. And baseball was tough because it was day in and day out, and I wasn't able to stay focused day in and day out. But in football, you have a week to prepare. You know, the one-year wonder thing is still kind of big right now. But, you know, I got a lot of things that I still can work on, but I've done it throughout the course of the year. And we had a terrific year at the University of Oregon. Hopefully the scouts can look at that and give me an opportunity to play. I kind of joke with him a lot about who's the best quarterback ever to come out of Oregon. And all I say is point to the stats. My numbers are better than yours. And he kind of laughs it off a little bit. I was a free agent at the beginning of the year, you know, hoping for a shot to play in the NFL team, possibility of making a practice squad or something like that. And, you know, we just continue to work hard day in and day out. And, you know, now I'm at the top of the draft, and I'm just thankful.
And we're joined here in New York by Keely Smith. Well, Dan Fouts has a good head start on you on the NFL numbers.
Yeah.
There's some work to do to get to his. A-ball, playing in the Major League system, junior college days. When you put all that together, what is the biggest reason that you've gotten to this point, number 3 overall pick in the draft?
It just came down to hard work, and the hard work that I did with my teammates at the University of Oregon throughout the summer, getting with Coach Jeff Tepper throughout the whole year, getting the mental part down pat, getting with my strength coach, Jimmy Radcliffe, and it comes down to me just making the plays on the field then.
Let's get a look at your numbers as you went through that last year, that senior year. Was it someone or something that said to you after your junior year was done, I got a shot, if I bust my butt, I can get to this point?
Yeah, it was my coach, Coach Jeff Tepper. First thing that he recognized is that I wasn't mentally focused my junior year, and he helped me out throughout the whole course of the summer, trying to get me as mentally focused as possible, and he did that.
I read a quote from you where you said you wish that Cleveland would have given you the second workout like they gave Tim Couch to get the chance to prove that you should have been number 1. You know, Cleveland and Cincinnati are in the same state and the same division, so you get to see them a couple times. I know it's going to be, you want to beat anybody you play against. Is it a little bit of extra motivation for yourself to watch what Tim does as you guys go along?
To be honest, it is, because it came down to either me and him, and it is motivation. So, you know, I'm not going to really worry about it. The things I need to worry about is getting the offensive playbook down pat, getting the speed of the game down pat, and get ready to play.
5 seconds. Message to Carl Pickens, who wants a trade.
If he's watching, we need you, baby.
Congratulations.
All right, thanks a lot.
Keely Smith from Oregon, now the Cincinnati Bengals. Kansas City, the Chiefs are on the clock. We'll see what they do as our coverage of the 99 draft continues on a day when Keely Smith became a Bengal.
It's Saturday night. Do you know what your money's doing? Janice does. Janice is working the phones, checking up on an investment in a new restaurant chain. Every Saturday night, Janice calls 20 or 30 of them in different states to make sure they're as busy as they projected. Janice keeps the heat on a company even after the money's invested. Is your money pushing the right buttons? Get there. Janice Mutual Funds.
The zero-pressure Michelin. So revolutionary it won't go flat, even with the puncture the size of a golf ball, letting you drive up to 50 miles at 55 miles per hour. Just what you'd expect from Michelin.
Michael, I say, Michael, would you like to hear a bird call?
Sure, Foghorn.
With MCI, a bird can call for just 5 cents a minute every Sunday and 10 cents a minute all week long. Now that, my friend, is a beautiful bird call.
The bird, I say the bird thinks he's a comedian.
Now stop stealing my material.
Call, I say call 1-800-Sundays to sign up.
Don't get me riled.
All my life, I wanted to be the Korean Nolan Ryan. Now, I want to be the Korean Big Mac.
Rick, this is Jim Hopkinson, a producer with ESPN Fantasy Games. Rick, you're a fantasy baseball owner. You going on strike is not going to bring Mo Vaughn back to the Red Sox. Take that up with their management. This is a business line.
Listen to the prophets. They predicted it all. Max attack on the home run record. Roger Clemens, 5th Cy Young Award.
Immerse yourself in the last season of the century. Watch Baseball Tonight on ESPN.
Speak to me, O prophets. Speak to me. For 10 years, he stalked the sidelines of the Kansas City Chiefs. But in this year, Marty Schottenheimer is the well-dressed member of the ESPN radio crew, I might point out, here in the first day of coverage of the draft. He'll be with us on our coverage tomorrow on the draft, and he was a great help in the expansion draft with Cleveland. Marty Schottenheimer, a year away from football, but certainly a man that knows quite well about the Kansas City Chiefs and a team that fell from grace, if you will, last season at 7-9. Their offense was way off the chart. Their rush defense was way off the chart. So, values here at pick number 14, Mel? What do you like?
You see the offensive tackles, Chris, and right now only 2 defensive players have been selected, so it's been an offensive draft, 11 out of 13. So I think you see some quality players still there. Anthony McFarland, mentioned earlier, is a player teams may trade up to acquire. He's the #1 defensive tackle in this draft, but you're going to see a run on the offensive tackles forthcoming, and John Tate, Anthony McFarland right now, as well as L.J. Shelton, the quality players on the board. Javon Curse, interesting because you have to find a spot for him as a Peter Boulware type. Ekubon and Patrick Kearney battling it out for the top defensive end spot. And Andy Katzenmoyer, where does he figure in as a middle linebacker who did not play as well this past year as he had as a freshman and even as a sophomore?
Joe, the Kansas City Chiefs, the pick is coming in. Where should they head?
I think they have to go defense, Chris. Dale Carter's gone. Mark McMillan's gone. They're 2 corners. They got Chester McLaughlin, who was injured through most of the year last year. Derek Thomas, this is a watershed year for him. Derek Thomas is either going to step up and really take charge of this football team, or else he's going to be a problem. But why should I try and tell you what I think Kansas City's going to do? Let's go to the commissioner, because he's going to tell us exactly what they're going to do.
You're on a roll, Joe.
Yeah, you just give me the question at that time.
With the 14th pick in the draft, the Kansas City Chiefs select John Tate, offensive tackle, Brigham Young University.
Well, Mel, even though they have a defensive coach in Gunther Cunningham, their rushing was 23rd in the league last year.
Well, it was, Chris. I think you look at John Tate, everybody says, well, BYU pro style, he's only a pass blocker. Think again. You see him here with the feet and the balance, and he's very athletic. He's very tough. You see him set strong, firm base, and just drives the defender to the ground. Here as well, left tackle as a run blocker. See the explosion, and he finishes the block as well. So he's not a finesse guy. He's a power guy. Here again in pass protection, easily drives the defensive end out of the play. Again here, left tackle against Alabama. Pass protection, no problem. Gives the quarterback plenty of time to throw and a nice lane to throw the football as well. Here against San Diego State, in pass protection, no problem as well. Now, I like the mean streak. You see it here. He finishes. He's always looking to move down the field and make a block. And I think John Tate, certainly the best left tackle in this draft. Nice value for the Chiefs, Joe.
Well, you know what? And you hate to say, I don't mean it this way. He's, by the scouts I talked to, remember, he's 24 years of age, so he's a man already. He is nastier than some of the other Brigham Young linemen that have come out. You know what I'm saying? And that's good if you're looking to run block. But who knows more about offensive tackles than our own Hall of Famer, Anthony Munoz, who broke down John Tate?
First thing I like about John Tate is his age. He's 24 years old. It's rare for a rookie entering the NFL, and I see him being a little more mature than most of the guys going in. Also, as I was watching tape on Tate, It reminds me a lot of Paul Gruber, the outstanding left tackle of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers for a lot of years. And I see John Tate with the ability to enter the NFL and have an excellent career, just as Paul Gruber has. Take a look at John Tate in action. The first thing you look at is leverage and power. And to me, when you have leverage and power, that means he's keeping his pad level down. He's getting his helmet under the defensive lineman. Low man wins, and right there, the low man wins. And bend at the knees. It's something that Tate does well. The power position. He maintains the power position. That gives him good balance. The spin by the defensive lineman, no problem for John Tate. He's right there to clean him up. Then again, the hands in separation. Keep that defensive lineman away from you, because the defensive lineman likes to close the gap, which he doesn't have here. He'll counter with different moves when he feels contact with the offensive lineman. There he didn't have that. Also, the thing I love about John Tate is his ability to stay low and to roll his hips and get that hip snap. You don't see that a whole lot in the NFL nowadays, but John Tate can do that.
If we get a stamp of approval from Anthony Munoz, you're okay, Joe.
You aren't kidding. I mean, you're taking one of the best and measuring you, and if he says you're okay in everybody's book. But first of all, you have to take a look at the Kansas City Chiefs and where they are in the offensive line. Their left tackle position is manned by Glenn Parker. They got Zott, you got Grunnert in the middle, Shields, and Victor Riley, who is a high draft choice, and Criswell as the reserve. Both Criswell and Parker are left tackles. To me, Tate's a good choice here because both of those guys are getting a little long in the tooth. You don't know how many more years they're going to play. You've had some physical problems with them. But the first thing you have to do is not focus on this offensive line when you talk about the running inefficiency the Kansas City Chiefs have had. You have to take a look at the lack of a true halfback. Donnell Bennett was moved over from fullback. Van Morris joined him late last year. Just as an example, Bennett rushed for 527 yards. Van Morris just for 481. They really need to solve their halfback problem as well as their offensive line problem. But I think starting with a new left tackle, a young left tackle, certainly a good place to begin.
First time in 5 years since '94 that we waited this long, 14 picks for an offensive lineman to go. Now on the clock, the very intriguing Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Speaking of O-line, with the quarterbacks gone, this is where I think Tony and company are looking. We'll be back.
It began as the product of meticulous Japanese design, but it was sent to Europe for finishing school. It was tested on Austria's Alpine roads, refined on Germany's Autobahns, and chased on England's racetracks. Now the car that's proven itself in Europe is crossing the pond. Introducing the all-new 99 Infiniti G20. Born in Japan, educated in Europe, now available in America.
What could we do with a chip that performs 100 billion operations a second? Why, we could bolster the world's food supply. We could engineer heartier vegetables and tender all-white meat chicken. We could use our technology to feed the world. But then we thought, hey, we could use it for games.
3DFX PC accelerators. So powerful, it's kind of ridiculous.
Zero-pressure Michelin. So revolutionary it won't go flat, even with the puncture the size of a golf ball, letting you drive up to 50 miles at 55 miles per hour. Just what you'd expect from Michelin.
Getting the opportunity to be in Jerry Maguire, that was a real thrill. Quite a few of us auditioned for parts.
Show me the money!
Show me the money.
Show me the money!
You complete me. You complete me.
Help me help you.
Who's coming with me?
Who's coming with me? Let's go.
Who's coming with me?
There were a couple of performances that really surprised them.
You had me at hello. You had me at hello.
Polaroid presents ESPN's 20th anniversary draft snapshots.
I believe in the second round, the Indianapolis Colts picked ahead of us, and they picked a guy named Eric Malum. And we were all set to pick Eric Rett. We were basing the whole draft on being able to pick him in the second round, even though our coaches really wanted us to pick him in the first. And we got there, and of course, whoever it was, whether it was Gene Washington or Neil Austrian, whoever it was announcing picks, said the name Eric.
Eric Malum, center from California.
And I kind of leaned over in my chair, and my chair then toppled. and that was used that day 3 or 4 times on your show, and I would say that was my low point.
Yeah, but he can bounce back after an injury. That's what we know about Rich McKay. As the Buccaneers have bounced, that was pretty funny. We've had 20 years and some intriguing moments, have we not? We began the day in Cleveland. We'll be there often with 13 picks overall in the draft. They had the very first one with Tim Couch. We whip around the league, starting with Sal Paolantonio.
Cleveland Browns head coach Chris Palmer has got his trigger man, Kentucky quarterback Tim Couch, the first pick. And as you can see, he's very, very happy about the pick. But now he's got to get some wide receivers for Couch to throw to. Will he package those 2 picks in the second round and move up to the first round to get one? We'll have to wait and see. Now let's go to Sean Salisbury.
Here in Indianapolis, the Colts make the somewhat controversial decision to pass on running back Ricky Williams and take Miami Hurricane running back Edgerrin James. The focus now shifts to the second round and defense. Look for them to go for corner or linebacker. Now to Andrea Kramer.
In Minnesota, when you're 15-1, you can afford to draft the best player regardless of need or position. And for the Minnesota Vikings at number 11, that was Central Florida quarterback Dante Culpepper. He'll sit and learn and develop a truth behind Randall Cunningham and Jeff George. And at the 29th pick, look for the Vikings to turn to defense, looking for a cornerback or defensive lineman. Now let's head to Ed Werder.
Well, here in New Orleans, Mike Ditka gets the guy he wants, and he gets him cheaper than he expected. The Saints offered the Colts 3 number 1 picks to get in position to take Ricky Williams. They only give 2 of those number 1 picks to the Washington Redskins to move up and get him with the 5th spot. Now, Mike Ditka's out of picks for the rest of this draft, so look for the Saints to scour what's left of the free agent market to try and build a team now around Ricky Williams on offense. Let's go to Solomon Wilcox.
In Foxborough, the loss of Robert Edwards has left a huge void in the Patriots backfield, and now with Ricky Williams and Edgerrin James now gone, the Patriots general manager Bobby Greer and head coach Pete Carroll must decide if they'll use one of their 2 first-round picks to take a running back, or will they take one in the second round. Now let's send it out to Hank Goldberg.
In Miami, in reviewing the Dolphins roster with Jimmy Johnson, it was apparent that there were very few openings. But one area where they could upgrade is still at the running back position. And while they tried hard to work their way up to get Edgerrin James and failed, and they will have to face him twice next year, at least Jimmy is checking his list to see where he can get at edge at running back. One consolation, the Patriots didn't get him. Now let's go to Denver, Tommy Jackson.
Here in Denver, the Denver Broncos have watched 14 players taken off the board, only 3 on the defensive side of the field, 2 of those cornerbacks. So Mike Shanahan, who would certainly like to upgrade his defensive front in terms of speed and depth, has some options available to him with the 11 choices he has in the draft. He can use some of that and go to an upgrade or stay where he is at 31. Now let's go to Chris Mortensen in New York.
The NFL quarterback shuffle is not over. The Baltimore Ravens are acquiring Tony Banks from St. Louis for 5th and 7th draft picks next season, and they are sending backup quarterback Eric Zeier to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers for a 6th-round pick. Where does that leave Warren Moon? That was 2 out of his 3 options. Probably the Kansas City Chiefs or even retirement. Chris?
All right, Mort, well, the Buccaneers making the move after neither Dante Culpepper or Cade McNown were available for Tony Dungy in the 15th spot. Now, we should elaborate on it a little bit. Trent Dilfer is still the man. He's a year removed from the Pro Bowl season that he had. But last year, of course, the quarterback, as you know, Joe, gets more of the credit and perhaps more of the blame than he deserves. But the Bucs, the hardest thing they experienced last year was great expectations. They toppled out of the playoff hunt. Fingers pointed at Dilfer. So Zeier is not really there to push him, but he's there just in case. That's why Tony Dungy, Rich McKay might have looked at a young quarterback to push just in case things go wrong. But now they have their backup quarterback. I think they got to look offensive line.
I agree with you, Chris. I also think with Paul Gruber getting a little bit older, you're certainly going to need something on the offensive line. In all likelihood, that would be the way to go. I wouldn't rule out the Tampa Bay Buccaneers taking one of the other quarterbacks, maybe a Sean King or a Joe Germain, in a 2nd or a 3rd round pick. Not that you want to come in and scare Trent Dilfer, but you still have to say to yourself, okay, if Trent continues to struggle a little bit, where are we going to go? We have to look at this thing as a franchise and figure out what's best for our football team. I personally think that Trent Dilfer can rebound and have an excellent year, a Pro Bowl season, like he did a couple of years ago. He's going to need to, because with Jaquez Green and Anthony Riddell on the outside, he's going to have some receivers that are going to be able to get down the field. And you just have to get more production out of this offense that Tampa Bay has throwing the football.
Well, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers were a laughingstock for years and years and years. But Rich McKay, then Tony Dungy, the tide has changed, although last year a disappointing season. But first, they have made their pick, and I think it's got to be Gibson, probably, maybe Shelton.
With the 15th pick in the draft, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers select Anthony McFarland, defensive tackle, LSU.
See, we try to guess. Well, for value, is he the best guy left? Mel, what do you think?
He's a good football player, and everybody was trying to go up to get him. And we talked about Denver and some other teams earlier, but you look at Anthony McFarland, a tough kid, 6'1", 299. Look at the hustle of number 94, chasing, never quitting on a play, and driving the ball carrier to the ground. I think you look at the quickness, the explosion, that low center of gravity. 6'1", 299, but long arms. Watch the quickness there. First into the backfield before the quarterback from Florida, Doug Johnson, can even hand the ball off. Here against Auburn, moving in for the sack, punishing football player. He catches a pass every now and then. You look at Anthony McFarland, Joe.
First thing that comes to mind, first thing I see when I look at these highlights, first thing I think of Warren Sapp. I see a guy with that kind of quickness, that kind of athletic ability, a young football player who can go sideline to sideline with a lot of speed. To me, as you look at that highlight, you've got to say to yourself, wow, there's another Warren Sapp. There's a guy who can get out, get across the field, make plays, and is an athlete. When you see him go out and catch a pass, he's more than just a guy that can just pound the ball in the middle of the football field. He's a nice kind of an athlete, so he's got an edge of athletic ability to him. You got to like what Tony Dungy has done here. Hey, they want to be tough on defense. This is a great addition.
Well, 249 tackles as a four-year starter. And you know what he looks like as we go to Tom Jackson to study these defensive players? He looks like Michael Dean Perry. And you know what? Michael Dean Perry was a pretty good ball player, Tommy.
Well, the thing about McFarland that stands out is he is like Warren Sapp. Joe is exactly right. But in terms of pursuit, I think he is faster than Warren Sapp. In his pursuit to the ball, you watch him pursue across the field, a nonstop motor, a guy who was on the field constantly when he played in college. And I think he is a can't-miss guy, an odd body type, but the quickness at the line of scrimmage and his ability to get across and cause some devastation in the opposing backfield, I don't think that we will see a better pair as we anticipate Warren Sapp and Anthony McFarland playing together. Let's go to Chris Fowler.
Well, TJ, thank you. My God, for you saw Anthony McFarland, nicknamed Booger, play a lot at LSU, and really teams in the SEC had to gear their blocking schemes around trying to double team him. Even as a nose tackle in a 3-4 defense, 8 sacks. That's impressive.
They had to double team Anthony McFarland because one thing that everybody said, he plays hard. He makes everybody on your defense a better player. He redirects, he pursues. He is an outstanding defensive lineman. This is the lowest I've seen a defensive lineman in all the time I've done a draft, Kurt.
Well, he's a great run stopper. You've seen him many times. We all had an opportunity to see him. The thing that I love about him is his first step. He gets through the gap, he gets upfield, and he applies a great deal of pressure on opposing quarterbacks. The quickness that he provides, along with Warren Sapp up front, that's pretty scary.
Booger headed to Tampa, and you like the pick.
I like it.
So to speak. Tennessee Titans are on the clock as NFL draft coverage continues from Bristol. Sorry about that. It's a long day.
Presenting the first USA PGA Tour Titanium MasterCard with a 3.9% APR for the first 6 months, just 9.99% thereafter, and a credit limit from $5,000 to $100,000. Think what it could bring you. Greenspeeds, $116. Graphite shaft clubs, $877. Balls, tees, $36. Hole-in-one. And a witness? Priceless. There are some things money can't buy. For everything else, there's the first USA PGA Tour Titanium MasterCard. Call 1-800-371-0065 now. You could save hundreds of dollars by transferring your balances from higher interest rate credit cards. And you'll receive a dozen top flight golf balls free with your first purchase or balance transfer. Call now and request the first USA PGA Tour or Senior PGA Tour Titanium MasterCard or the first USA Titanium MasterCard. Call now for your free gift.
Sports Century's 50 Greatest Athletes, a year-long celebration. Number 39, Walter Payton. Friday at 10:30 on ESPN, presented by General Motors.
It began as the product of meticulous Japanese design, but it was sent to Europe for finishing school. It was tested on Austria's Alpine roads, refined on Germany's Autobahns, and chased on England's racetracks. Now the car that's proven itself in Europe is crossing the pond. Introducing the all-new 99 Infiniti G20. Born in Japan, educated in Europe, now available in America.
This ESPN News presentation of the 1999 NFL Draft is brought to you by Infiniti. Own one and you'll understand. By 3D FX PC accelerators. So powerful, it's kind of ridiculous. And by Michelin, because so much is riding on your tires.
Fine. Tennessee.
Welcome back to New York. We were at the median of the first round in the NFL Draft. And for the first pick ever in the history of the Tennessee Titans. Now you say, wait a minute, they've been around for a while? This is their new helmet with a new name, with a new home. After the Super Bowl was over, after the Pro Bowl was over last year, they became the Tennessee Titans. So for the fourth straight year, this franchise will have a new home stadium. Now, we think defensive line, but you know what? Kearney, Kearse. Let's go to Andrea Kramer with a word on the Tennessee Titans. Andrea.
Thank you very much, Chris. Let's just say I talked to Floyd Reese just moments ago, and he was laughing and smiling because they will be able to get the man they covet the most, Javon Kearse, the defensive end from Florida. Floyd said he was the sixth best player that they have up there. They will play him at right end. He is the best pass rusher. Keep in mind that defensive ends had only 6.5 sacks out of 30 sacks overall for the Titans. They definitely feel they need to polish his skills and put him at one position. He was played all over the place, a jack of all trades, if you will, at Florida, but they'll put him at right end. They'll work him into the rotation there and really hope that they'll boost their pass rush with Javon Kearse. Let's head back to you in New York, Chris.
All right, Andrea, thank you. And Mel, this is an intriguing type of player. We have a couple of these rated very high every year, a tweener. And by that we mean, do you line him up an outside linebacker? Do you line him up at a down lineman, defensive end? And every year, half the teams think one way, half the teams think the other. Where should Kearse play?
Well, I thought he would be like a Peter Boulware, up on first and second down on third down like a Peter Boulware does in Baltimore. But they're looking at him as a defensive end. Remember, he's 6'4.5", he's 256 pounds, up to 262, ran a 4.47 on grass. Great closing speed. But he wasn't a sack artist at Florida. Had 7 sacks this past season. Needs some technique work. So whereas a Peter Boulware could get after the quarterback, Kearse still needs to learn some technique. Disappeared in certain parts of some key games. So a little more consistency needed out of Javon Kearse, but certainly with that physical and athletic ability, at this stage of the first round, he makes some sense,
well,
Joe.
This franchise, Joe, has tried this position before, and in recent years, not been overly successful.
No, they haven't. You take a look at this is their last 5-year picks of their status of the guys they've taken. Salva, Lyons, Holmes, Burton, Mix.
No wonder they're changing their name.
They've just, I mean, really, and then there you see the last 5 years, again, more. 95 Walker, Anthony Cook, who now is a Washington Redskin, Nunley, Ford. But you have to understand, I think the reason why this will work out very well for him is the philosophy that Jeff Fisher likes to use on defense. It's a pressure style of defense. It brings a lot of safeties. It brings a lot of linebackers. So we really need somebody who can rush the passer from the outside and be quick. They feel like they can disrupt the running game as much with their scheme as they can with just lining up big people. So a good, quick, fast football player added to the front here gives them, I think, an opportunity with, and not only opportunity, but also versatility in what they want to do on defense.
You know what, the Titans are a team, the Oilers, for you fans still trying to get adjusted to this, these are not the New York Titans of the early AFL days. 8-8, we wait for them to make a move, and I guess their move is involved with when Steve McNair takes a quantum leap. Is this the year?
This has got to be the year, Chris. I think there are 3 quarterbacks. I think Trent Dilfer, Steve McNair, and Jeff Flake all have to go out and prove that they are the starters in the National Football League that everybody has expected them to be. And in the case of Trent and Jeff, they have been. I think Steve McNair now has an opportunity to move up the charts and become a much better quarterback. He's got people around him now, defensively. You just have to expect that the Titans are going to be better than an 8-8 football team. I don't think Jeff Fisher would be anything satisfied with less than 11 wins. And a lot of those three additional wins are going to have to come on the arm of Steve McNair, not on his legs. He doesn't need to rush for 600 or 700 yards. He just has to be able to throw the ball more efficiently and be more effective in the passing game.
Jevon Kearse, let's go back to where we think the Titans are going to go. Do you project him to be as good as Bulwer? Because Bulwer's pretty good now.
Bulwer's real good. He was a great pass rusher at Florida State. There's no question about that, Chris. But if you look at Jevon Kearse, I said the consistency is needed down the line. But I thought as a linebacker combination guy, that's where he'd be worked. Obviously in Tennessee, if he goes there, would be a down defensive end. We got a kid 256 pounds, tremendous wingspan, and he did show pass rush potential. He had 7 this past year, got after the quarterback with more effectiveness. Keep in mind, he was a safety in high school, a safety early on in Florida before Steve Spurrier moved him to the defensive side of the ball and left him on at the linebacker defensive end position. So a combination athletic kid who needs to develop the types of consistency and overall skill level that you need at the pro level. He's a player, I think, drafted more on physical and athletic potential than the steady productivity at the college level.
Well, we had, just to backtrack a minute, McFarland, when he went to Tampa Bay, it's the latest since 1983 that we've waited for a defensive lineman to go. If and Kearse comes, then here comes the run a little bit. Then we start to, this is the fun part of the draft because these are the teams in specific Tennessee 8-8, Tampa Bay 8-8. Some teams that are on the cusp of becoming good teams, and maybe a couple of draft picks here in the middle of round 1 and in the middle of round 2, an 8-8 team becomes 10-6, 11-5.
Not only that, Chris, I think that both Tony Dungy and Jeff Fisher, we're talking about the Titans and, of course, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, both of these coaches expect more out of their football team. They've had them, they've put they've developed their system, they've brought people in they want. Now they've got the players they want. There's an expectation there, particularly in Tampa Bay, where we had them projected to possibly go and contend for a Super Bowl title a year ago. I would think anything short of 10 or 11 wins for either one of these football teams would be extremely disappointing, and they're going to need help from young players in this draft.
In Tampa Bay's case in particular, Minnesota jumped over them and actually jumped over the Packers last year, so now they're the number 3 team in a very competitive division. Tennessee got a depleted Pittsburgh team in their division. They're maybe in a better place to make a move. We'll be back.
The durable, authentic khaki. It gets better with every wash.
It began as the product of meticulous Japanese design, but it was sent to Europe for finishing school. It was tested on Austria's Alpine roads, refined on Germany's Autobahns, and chased on England's racetracks. Now the car that's proven itself in Europe is crossing the pond. Introducing the all-new 99 Infiniti G20. Born in Japan, educated in Europe, now available in America.
Last time you made money in your sleep, you believed in the tooth fairy. But now, check into any Red Roof Inn with our coupon from USA Today and get $5 cash back. Plus, you get to keep all your teeth. Ooh, beauties. Call 1-800-THE-ROOF and save money like you mean it.
You know what I call this? Dancing. No, it's the collect call 1-800-CALLATT. Just dial right down the center of the phone. CALLATT for guaranteed cheap collect calls. Dial 1-800-CALL-ATT.
Hey there, from Plank Road. We're down here side by each in my custom bomb shelter, which of course is stocked with plenty of canned goods, and I'm not talking about lima beans, okay? I'm talking about the beer with the never watered down taste.
Ice House.
Yes. Down here, we have the freedom to do whatever our hearts desire.
This is awesome!
What can we say? Out here, our world is beer.
Back in New York at the 64th NFL Draft, the Tennessee Titans' first ever pick.
With the 16th selection in the draft, the Tennessee Titans select Javon Kearse, linebacker, University of Florida.
Wow. Well, we already gave him away, but I mean, it's a pick that, hey, nobody on their defensive line had more than 4 sacks last year. So obviously for Tennessee, it's a position of need. Maybe this is one that will click. Let's go up to Mark Malone and Ron Jaworski for their thoughts on a team that could be very interesting this year, guys.
Well, Boomer, it could be very interesting. One of the things that often happens with these college players that come into the National Football League playing that rush end or linebacker is that they are tweeners, kind of underweight. Do you play him at defensive end or do you play him at linebacker? Well, with Jeff Fisher and his scheme, a disciple of Buddy Ryan, well, Jaws, they're going to put him in a situation in a couple of positions that are going to allow him to be very, very productive.
Mark, you are correct. This really is a good fit for Jeff Fisher and Greg Williams, their defensive coordinator. They love the tweener kind of guy, so he can attack from either the linebacker position or the defensive end position. And they are a 4-3 team, under team. This is a defensive end, so he can play this position and in passing situations, attack the quarterback. In other words, get up the field and get in his face. Now, in normal situations, he would play this linebacker position right here. In other words, now he would have an end and a tackle in front of him to protect him, as well as he can buzz to take away the wide receiver routes and the inside routes by the tight end or the crossing patterns. And in the Jeff Fisher system, the linebackers have to have this ability because they love to take away the in-breaking routes from the wide receivers. And when you look at Javon Kearse's ability, he is a kind of a Lawrence Taylor type of football player. He can get after the quarterback, he can get back in pass coverage, and the people I spoke around the league, Mark, they love this guy's athleticism.
Of course, Javon Kearse, a guy that's played both free and strong safety at one point or another. His coverage skills are second to none. He is going to be a good product for the new Tennessee Titans. Well, Seattle is on the clock. Mike Holmgren going to make his first pick. We'll be back with more after this.
Welcome to Taco Night at the Andersons.
Hey, it's a Stigma Marshmallow Man!
Taco Night is also movie night at the Andersons.
Get a coupon for a free Blockbuster video when you bring home the new Grande meal from Taco Bell. It's a mountain of food for just $9.99.
1, 2, 3, pasta!
Wow, let's make s'mores. Until next time.
Starting a small business takes a burning entrepreneurial spirit, a singular, bold vision, the courage to fight an endless uphill battle. But that's not all you need. Oh, no.
I need some furniture.
And some curtains would be nice. That's why you need the Visa business card, because Jules sells her furniture like millions of other places. Doesn't take any card from American Express.
I love these chairs.
And I'm really happy with these window treatments. What? Visa business card, it's everywhere you want to be.
It began as the product of meticulous Japanese design, but it was sent to Europe for finishing school. It was tested on Austria's Alpine roads, refined on Germany's Autobahns, and chased on England's racetracks. Now the car that's proven itself in Europe is crossing the pond. Introducing the all-new 99 Infiniti G20. Born in Japan, educated in Europe, now available in America.
Goody's Body Pain 500 tomorrow at 1. NASCAR on ESPN.
The 99 NFL Draft live on ESPN and ESPN2. Join the ESPN NFL Draft team for all the picks, plus live reports from inside the war rooms. The 99 NFL Draft, the players, the teams, the future, continues tomorrow at 11 and 1.
Back in New York as the Seattle Seahawks are on the clock, the most intriguing team going into this season. We'll elaborate that in a moment, but let's go back to the Tennessee Titans pick of Javon Kearse with our Sprint video conference and the general manager of the newly named Titans, Floyd Reese. And Floyd, thank you for joining us. Javon Kearse, do you put him at defensive end? And if so, what happens to who's, let's say, at right defensive end, Kenny Holmes? Where do you project Kearse to play for you?
Well, I think right now he'll come in and start as an outside rush guy. One of the unique things about our scheme, of course, is that he can move back and forth. That is, he can line up on the left and the right and stay in a single position, but play both sides. So we don't necessarily need to lock him down in one spot. The important thing is that he needs some pressure. He can give us some pressure and get to the quarterback. That's what we're looking for.
Floyd, you've been the nomads, really, of the NFL, and I'm not looking for you to make an excuse, but now you have a new home, a new stadium where you're going to play all your games. Do you think that that will give the team kind of a little extra juice, a little make you finally play up to the potential that you and Jeff Fisher have for this ball club?
I would really like to think so. It's been forever, as you well know. We've bounced around from place to place. We now have a brand new facility, brand new stadium, brand new uniforms, brand new names. I mean, everything is on the up and up. And I think for the first time in the last couple of years, the only thing we have to worry about is winning.
Steve McNair, is this I don't want to say make or break year, Floyd, for him, but is it time? If you're going to make the move, he's got to be at the forefront. What do you expect out of him this year that you haven't seen yet?
We expect to get the same improvement we got last year. He hasn't gone off the charts. He hasn't skyrocketed, but he hasn't dropped at all. Every year he's continued to improve, and as long as he continues to do that, we'll be in great shape. So from our standpoint, if he just continues doing what he did last year, pick up a few things, throw the deep ball a little bit better, things like that, we'll be in great shape.
New home, new unis, new name, maybe playoff run. Good luck to you, Floyd. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
Well, new era in Tennessee, and we shall see if they're an 8-8 team that makes a move. I can tell you an 8-8 team that's going to make a move. It's the Seattle Seahawks. Starting with the top, new executive vice president / GM / coach of the Seattle Seahawks, Mike Holmgren. There is no question that Mike and many of his staff at Green Bay, remember when they took over the Packers, that was a franchise that hadn't been in the playoffs when they came there in '92 in about 10 years. And the Seattle Seahawks, who have not been in the playoffs since 1988, back when Chuck Knox was up there, while you say, well, gee, they must not be a good team, they have, I don't think there's any question, Joe, in my mind, of all the non-playoff teams, the best personnel of anyone. And frankly, they had better personnel than some of the teams that made the playoffs.
They really did, Chris. I think the area really where he's got an awful lot of help is on the defensive side of the ball. He just has some great athletes. Cortez Kennedy is over there. They've got Sam Adams, who they expect to play well. You bring in a Chad Brown. You've got Sean Springs. The list goes on and on and on of Pro Bowlers and guys that have been to the Pro Bowl who can help on the defensive side of the ball. I think the big thing here is what can you do to complement Joey Galloway? John Kitna has proven to Mike Holmgren he's good enough to be able to play the quarterback position. Is Mike going to stay right there? That's one of the questions we certainly will have an opportunity to ask him, and he'll answer for us as time goes. I think the pressing need right now is to find a complementary receiver in the offense that Mike Holmgren wants to run. You can't just feature Joey without having somebody on the other side. First thing that comes to mind in my mind is Antonio Freeman and Robert Brooks. You basically got the one guy. Now you need to go find the other one.
Yeah, he knows that, but he may not right now have a player for that value at this spot. So they're entertaining calls. I know Seattle was looking maybe to go down. This would be a spot for someone to move up. Mike Holmgren in the NFL as a head coach after he was offensive coordinator of the San Francisco 49ers under George Seifert, and before that, offensive assistant under Bill Walsh, 84-42. They took over the Packers. They said a team that had not been in the playoffs for a long time, and until the last 2 years, every year they improved. First year they just missed the playoffs. Next year they made the playoffs. Next year they hosted a home playoff game. Next year they moved on. Upset San Francisco, lost in the championship game. Next year, Super Bowl. Then they came back a little bit and didn't get back to the Super Bowl last year. But he's a builder, but he's got more to deal with on this roster than he did when he took over Green Bay. Now, Mel, value only. Seattle keeps the pick. Which kind of guys are they looking at?
You look at the value at this point, Chris, it's still the offensive tackles, L.J. Shelton, John Jansen, Aaron Gibson. There hasn't been that major run yet. Ebenezer Ekubon, Damian Woody, center guard, and Andy Katzenmoyer, of course. And, of course, Patrick Kearney on the heels of Ebenezer Ekubon, battling for that top defensive end spot all year. Cecil Collins will be interesting to see if Jimmy Johnson moves off of 24 into the early second round. Mike Peterson, a little more consistent than Javon Curse, but 6'1.5", 233, and will be an excellent outside linebacker, probably an early second rounder. Lamar King, an intriguing defensive end with great upside potential. I thought Marcellus Wiley at Columbia 2 years ago at Buffalo had that intriguing upside potential. Last year, Lorenzo Bromell ended up in the 4th round of Miami. This year, watch out for Lamar King at a Saginaw Valley State.
I think it's King or Shelton are two of the guys he's looking at now. And I know an offensive, remember he and Ron Wolf drafted offensive line one a lot in Green Bay. House Ballard isn't getting any younger, and that might be a spot that, if he drafted an offensive lineman, that might be a spot.
I think so, Chris. And, you know, when you mentioned House Ballard, that's what I was looking at. He's a right tackle. Gibson is a right tackle. He's a very big right tackle. And so there's an opportunity for Gibson maybe to play guard or tackle for him. But you look at Walter Jones, Peter Kendall, Kevin Glover, Brian Habib, fairly young across the offensive line. They've done a nice job of piecing in people. And, of course, House Ballard being the veteran there with Chris Gray as your reserve. I still think a big left tackle or right tackle for him in this case would be the right way to go. You mentioned Shelton. You mentioned, I think Gibson's a heck of an intriguing situation here.
You say big?
Huge.
Anthony Gibson is 380. Anthony Gibson, if he's drafted on this team, will make House Ballard look like a shack. You know?
It's a little shack.
It was a little shack. But you know why I kind of like Shelton as a player? His dad, Lonnie Shelton, NBA player, played on the championship Seattle Supersonics in 1979. You know, a generation later, his son would go play on a team they hope can win a championship. I like it.
Well, he's a good one. He's 6'5½", 341 pounds, Chris. When you look at L.J. Shelton as a junior, protected the blind side of Charlie Batch. And I think as a senior, made great strides, outstanding effort at the Senior Bowl as well.
Well, this is all if Seattle keeps the ticket. They may find these type of players a little bit farther down, especially if it's receiver. Go down 10 or 12, and you should still get your receiver. So, will they make a trade? That's why we call on the wisdom of Solomon. Solomon Wilcox.
Thanks, Chris. And talking to those in the New England Patriots war room, we now understand that they have traded for this pick with the Seattle Seahawks. Look for the Patriots to take the center. The Dominator, Damian Woody from Boston College, should be a tremendous pick for them. They look to upgrade their offensive line. Chris?
Well, that'd be interesting if they made the move. And let's here is the commissioner with the official trade. So let's go up to the podium. Thanks, Solomon.
Well, there's been a trade, and the New England Patriots are now on the clock.
Well, let's say a little bit why Seattle might have made a trade. They, along with Miami and Kansas City, have the fewest draft picks of anybody in this draft. 5. They have no second. Part of the reasons Seattle lost the pick to Green Bay as compensation for Mike Holmgren. So I'm sure a second will be involved. We'll get the details on that trade for a moment. Now, New England has 2 first-round picks. So they're not moving up a few spots. Solomon said Woody, the center, who I think still would have been there, and they waited a little longer. But one of these picks with Robert Edwards with the unfortunate serious injury suffered out of Honolulu, one of these picks should be a running back, although I don't think this one, Mel.
No, Damian Woody, it would surprise me. I think you have to replace Dave Wollabout. There's no question about that, but I do not think the teams in between would have gone for a center like Damian Woody. I think you have to move up. You have to think about maybe a Conrad, a running back at that point if you're going to go up that far. But I look at New England right now to move up just a couple spots. They have the guy in mind that's going to be a major impact performer on that football team.
We'll see, exactly what New England has in mind, so I guess we'll shelve Seattle discussion. They'll be there in 3.
Just a little bit with New England. You got Cedric Shaw, who was a third-round pick in '97, who is available, and maybe he can develop for him. I think that's the thing they have to consider.
Well, they got 2 picks, this pick and then the 28th pick. Let's see what they've done with the trade. Yep. See, I do a segue, and it doesn't work. You do one, and it works.
You said it's timing. You've taught me timing, Boom.
No, timing is everything, Joe. That's correct, and I should learn.
On the trade between Seattle and New England, Seattle traded its first pick, the 17th pick in this draft, to New England for the Patriots' first pick in this draft, Patriots' 3rd and 6th round picks in this draft. With the 17th pick, the New England Patriots have selected Damian Woody, center, Boston College.
Well, the first good thing about this pick for New England is they don't have to pay moving expenses. I mean, Boston College goes right to Foxborough. So, Mel, in short, the Patriots have a Woody.
They have a heck of a player. The Dominator, they call him, Chris. He can play center guard. Obviously, center in New England with Dave Wollabout moving on. You see the explosion in the athleticism. Keeps his feet, maintains his balance, strong at the point. And I think when you look at Damian Woody, you're seeing a kid who did it over a period of years. Of course, came out after his junior year, but he's got plenty of starting experience in the Big East Conference. And at 328 pounds, has the size and the physical strength to hold up against those dominating defensive tackles in the National Football League. The only question I have here, Joe, is to move up from 20 to 17 and give up a 3 and a 6 when it did not look like Damian Woody would have gone to one of those teams in between is kind of baffling at this point.
You and I sit here constantly, quite often, and it usually doesn't take us to the 17th pick in the draft where we just scratch our head and go, why did he do this? I mean, so many picks to move up to get a guy who could probably be there 6 or 7 spaces down. I got to be honest with you, this one baffles me a little bit. I know he's a good center. I know that the offensive line of the New England Patriots needs some help. But certainly, you got to figure, they have to figure out they're going to get a running back somewhere, someplace else, or Cedric Shaw has been working real hard to impress upon them what they need. There's the offensive line. Bruce Armstrong.
Well, see, they lost Wallabout center, Joe. I mean, that's the, and Woody's a good player now.
No, I agree. But to give up 3 picks to move up that far to get it,
Joe, they had to have a strong feeling that somebody, Oakland or the Giants, were going to take Damien Woody. I disagree with that. And a 3 and a 6 to me are potential hole fillers for a team. I think to still be able to get the same player just a couple spots later, you have to wonder why you would want to play with a 3 and 6. Obviously, they had somebody in mind, either the Oakland or the Giants, that were going to be interested in Damien Woody.
I think keep in mind also, there's been a lot of talk and a lot of banter about Terry Glenn possibly being on the trading block. They still have some picks. They still have another one left. So, I mean, you don't know.
Let me solve that one. You saw at the moment the War Room cam at Foxborough, that was the owner, Robert Kraft. There were words that in their efforts to get up to get the running back, that Terry Glenn was part of the trade. It did not happen. That was out there. They never dangled him in these particular trades. So let's settle that one.
So this one never involved Terry Glenn.
No, it did not. So Woody's a good player now, and it's certainly a position of need. And they lost Wallabaugh to Cleveland. They'll be back for probably a running back later on. We'll be back in a moment.
I've won my share of races, but I didn't do it alone. It takes a great team. And Slick 50 is a part of my team. I'm one of the millions of people who rely on it.
Now there's Slick 50 Synchron synthetic engine treatment with a 100,000-mile limited warranty and pour-and-drive convenience.
It's hard to beat Slick 50. I count on that.
Slick 50 Synchron synthetic, the next generation of engine treatments.
And for peak performance, use Slick 50 Synchron synthetic fuel system treatment.
This is you. This is the commercial you see. This is the number you call. This is the box that comes. This is the machine you get. This is the number you call. These are the exercises you do. This is how long it takes. This is how often you do it. This is the number you call. This is how you'll feel when you're done. The SoloFlex Muscle Machine. Call now for a free brochure and video. This is the number you call.
On our team, we have Russians, Germans, Swedes, you name it, we got it. And we're all one big happy family. Привет, Shanahan, иди покатайся в облаках. That means Shanahan is a good and great man. I love you too, my brother.
Ken Griffey Jr., 9 straight gold gloves, 1 dazzling bat. Watch one of the best swings in the game spark a long ball battle in Anaheim. Mariners, Angels, the Sunday night game of the week. Tomorrow at 8 on ESPN.
Dear Great Aunt Edith, camp is fun. But dear Uncle Lenny, camp is fun. But I need money for arts and crafts. I miss you. Love, Billy. P.S. I made this candle for you.
No, more pathetic. Come on, pathetic. Nice.
With new Polaroid greeting cards, you can show your relatives how much you really love them.
Okay, that's all of Billy's relatives. Who's next?
Got a TV here?
Yeah, just sit over by the hot tub.
Polaroid. See what develops.
Smells like money.
And welcome back to our NFL Draft Update. If you're just joining us, quarterbacks, the story of the day. No surprise there. 5 quarterbacks taken in the first 12 picks. The Saints trade with the Redskins, select Ricky Williams, who slides to number 5 overall. It's been a very good day for quarterbacks, a very bad day for the big uglies. 5 quarterbacks taken in this draft before the first lineman taken at number 14. 4 linemen in a row have now been selected. Kirk Herbstreit and Mike Godfrey join me. Your thoughts on the quarterback class of '99? If you ask 10 different guys, you get 10 different opinions in the NFL.
Chris, the 2 I like the best. I like Dante Culpepper the best. He's 6'4", 255, runs a 4.6 40. He's the most accurate quarterback passer in college football this year. He broke Steve Young's 15-year accuracy record, completing 73.6. Tim Couch, he broke all the records in high school. He broke all the records, 14 records in the SEC, so it just figures that he's going to do well in the pro football.
I think one of the things to remember about these guys,
all 5 are good character guys, so it's a good, safe pick for anybody that went out on a limb and decided to pick them. With us all analyzing and overanalyzing these quarterbacks, remember, it's not the measurables that make the quarterback, but the intangibles. Case in point would be Cade McNown out at UCLA. The knock on him, of course, the arm strength, the lack of height to be a prototypical NFL quarterback. They're off balance, demonstrating the arm strength. I think the system that UCLA has out there with Bob Toledo allows him to come into the NFL and probably have a shorter learning curve than some of the other quarterbacks. Donovan McNabb is a scrambler. Everybody's talking about how can he fit in the pocket. Don't forget that at Syracuse, he had opportunities to sit back there and demonstrate the big arm. And Akili Smith is a great leader. The players out at Oregon love him. It's going to be interesting. In the black hole of quarterbacks, said Boomer Esiason in Cincinnati, what kind of leadership will he provide for a team that is desperately needing some leadership?
You're right. That's a very tough situation for any young quarterback to have to step into. Akili Smith's father, Ray, is a minister. May want to say a prayer for his son heading to the Bengals. Here's the top quarterbacks, guys coming into their own. Ron Jaworski says Akili Smith is #1. Jim Kelly, he likes Donovan McNabb. He's in the same camp as Marty Schottenheimer. Mike Godfrey just heard talk about Culpepper. Joe Theismann, of course, he has to be a contrarian. He goes with the short guys, the lefty Cade McNown from UCLA. Different quarterbacks, lots of different opinions. That's what makes draft day draft day. Mike Tirico.
And Chris Fowler. To add to the opinions, we are joined again by Jim Kelly, class of '83, and Boomer Esiason, class of '84. But also had Steve Young and Jeff Hosto. That was a pretty good group. Well, you heard what the guys were talking about Cincinnati and Minister and Black Hole. And give me your feel for the situation Akili's going to walk into, because it is difficult.
It is a very difficult situation, Mike. And one of the reasons I think so is because, you know, he has to step in there now with Jeff Blake, and they're going to be telling Jeff Blake, look, you're our quarterback right now, but in the long term, Akili Smith is going to be our quarterback. I mean, you know, Akili, his name in Swahili means courage, power, creativity, and intelligence, or whatever. He's going to need all of those and more. And then I saw him with 32 guys up on the stage today. Okay, there's going to be plenty of seats in Cincinnati for all 32 of those people. So, front rows, God help them right now.
The entourage will fit without problem in Synergy, even before they go to Paul Brown Stadium. Best situation, worst situation. Of the 5 quarterbacks taken, who do you think, Jim's in the best fit?
Probably Dante Culpepper, because he's with the Minnesota Vikings. He doesn't have to worry being thrown right into the fire. I mean, you look at the guys he's going to be thrown to, Randy Moss, Chris Carter, but more importantly, the quarterbacks. You have Jeff George, you have Randall Cunningham. He doesn't have to get in there right away and try to make an impact.
Boomer, best situation? Well, you know what I think? Whatever happened to fiscal responsibility is what I said. Right now, Tim Couch, I think, is worth the money. He's a guy that has shown that he can do it in a big-time college situation. The other guys all have great attributes. I'm not disputing that. The question I have is how much you want to pay these guys for those attributes. I would say Tim Couch, #1 in the best situation. Dante Culpepper. And then the other 3, you know, I don't know. That's right, exactly.
But
you never know.
With Oakland still on the clock and some 6.5 minutes until they pick, the worst situation, would it be new coaching staff? Would it be fans? Would it be the guys around you? What would define a worst situation for one of these 5 guys?
I think the people around you. You have to, in order to be a top quarterback in this league, you got to have everything around you. All of a sudden, you get thrown into the fire, injuries, people around your feet. They're going to have a lot to think about. More importantly, for the head coach to really remember what got him there and what can get him there, that's the top quarterback. So you don't want to take too many chances too early.
Boomer, as a guy who played in New York, what advice would you give Donovan McNabb after the greeting he got from the Philly fans, who've been booing their quarterback all along? So they get a new quarterback, and they boo him before he does anything. I don't understand you people, but what would you give him?
It's not Donovan McNabb's fault. He is a great athlete. There's no question about that, Mike and Jim. But, you know, the thing is that, you know, he's got a quarterbacks coach in Andy Reid, a head coach, I mean, who will actually have some, you know, real say-so in what he does and how long he wants to bring him, how slowly he wants to bring him along, which is good. But I hate to go back to Cincinnati, but, you know, that situation where they can't stop anybody on defense does not bode well for a rookie quarterback, and there's going to be an awful lot of pressure, I believe, in the quarterback meetings. Just think of Kenny Anderson trying to balance the egos of Jeff Blake, Neil O'Donnell, if he's there, Akili Smith, and whoever else.
Well, through your experiences, they're going to tell us what these guys face specifically and how they can assimilate their talents into the pros, as they'll join us a little bit later on. Now we'll go back to Chris Burke.
All right, guys, thank you. And a lot of passes being thrown up there for sure. Let's pass it on up to Solomon Wilcots in New England with the head coach of the Patriots, Pete Carroll, who now has a new center. Solomon.
Thanks, Chris. Pete, so many people thought that you probably could have took the center, Damian Woody, at the 20th spot, but you give up 2 picks to move up 3 spots. Why do you do that?
Well, we really wanted to get Damian Woody, and we wanted to make sure that we did. We knew after the running back thing was over, we were dead set on getting this kid. And so when we had our chance, we wanted to ensure that we did, and it's very important to us. We had a big need. We got a very unique player that we think comes along very rarely, and so we were happy to do whatever it took to make sure that we got him on our club.
You lose last year's center, Dave Wallabout, to free agency. You now bring in Damien Woody. Can you project him as next year's starter?
Well, he's gonna come in here with the thought that he's going to be a starting player. That's why we drafted him. I think he's very unique, and we believe that that's what he'll be able to do. He's going to have to work real hard and earn his way, but we're sure counting on him to do that.
Yeah, they're counting on Damien Woody. He was labeled the Dominator while at Boston College, a big favorite of a lot of the fans right here in the New England area. Let's send it back to you, Chris.
All right, Solomon and Coach Carroll, thank you very much. They'll be back in the war room because they pick 28th a little later on in the first round. The Raiders, 4 minutes left for their first round pick. Will be fine.
Farming, it's America's heritage, but every week over 500 family farmers go out of business, losing their land and their livelihood. Here's a way you can help. Just dial 1010-220 when you make a long-distance call. All calls up to 20 minutes are only 99 cents, and 1010-220 will make a donation to Farm Aid every time you use it. So dial 1010-220 and you'll get up to 20 minutes for only 99 cents, and you'll lend a helping hand to some hard-working American farmers.
Oh, yeah, those first ice boats had a lot of speed, but not a whole lot of control. Yeah, with the blades sitting there, they couldn't steer around the ice fishing holes. Oh, geez, learn the hard way. Wider is better.
With its speed-sensitive steering technology, the White Track Grand Prix gives you precise cornering and control, even at a good clip.
You betcha. Better, better.
Wider is better. The White Track Grand Prix by Pontiac.
Before you can throw like an MVP, catch like an all-star, or hit like a Hall of Famer, you'll have to work like a Gabe Kapler. K-Swiss.
With Days Inn hotels in over 1,800 cities and towns, finding a place to stay doesn't take a federal investigation. Days Inn. There you go.
Now, the Army offers up to $50,000 for college. If you can use that kind of money, raise your hand. Be all you can be. Call 1-800-USA-ARMY.
Tonight on ESPN, National Hockey Night, Baseball Tonight, and Sports Center. On ESPN2, the 99 NFL Draft, followed by X in Concert and NHL Tonight. And on ESPN Classic, Behind the Fights and College Basketball Classics. Do you have all the ESPN networks?
Well, guess who's on the clock? You know, their fans are unlike any other. They are. Thank goodness they're unlike any other. Look at them. They're reigning. Have a minute left for their first round pick. You know, the last few years, you can't argue with the thing they've done with their first pick. Charles Woodson is going to be great. Had a wonderful year last year, and even going to be even better as his second and third year coming around. Darrell Russell is one of the best defensive tackles in football. And, you know, Napoleon Kaufman has been a good back, although there's question now as to whether, you know, Napoleon Kaufman will continue to be productive for the Raiders. Another discussion another time. Back to Solomon Wilcots in New England.
This is Sal Paolantonio in Cleveland. The Oakland Raiders are on the clock, and offensive line is a major need for them. They gave up 67 sacks last year. That ranked last in the league. I talked to Raiders head coach John Gruden earlier in the week, and he said he'd like to beef up the offensive line. One guy that they do like is L.J. Shelton, the tackle out of Eastern Michigan. They do have Mo Collins and Lincoln Kennedy, but they'd like to see both of them get into competition in training camp, and that offensive line needs to be fixed, and John Gruden would like to beef it up, and L.J. Shelton's one guy that they are looking at. Now let's go to Chris Berman. Back to you in New York.
All right, Sal, thank you very much. And now the Raiders are running out of clock, and the pick is in. Let's go up to the commissioner.
With the 18th pick, the Raiders select Matt Stenchcomb, tackle, University of Georgia.
The second Georgia player, along with Champ Bailey, to go, Mel.
Well, he's got a lot of experience, Chris, and he's versatile. He can play right tackle, left tackle, and also play guard. You see a kid here, you can see the polish and that offensive line is technically sound, good feet. And a guy that was, like I say, a very consistent player and very durable. You know, this is a game here where he played with that harness on his shoulder, had a little trouble with Patrick Kearney. Kearney had 2 sacks in that game, but he's battle-tested in the SEC here against Tennessee, neutralizing the charge of the defensive end, giving the quarterback plenty of time to throw the football. So with Matt Stenchcomb, you know what you're getting. You take him with a lot of experience, a lot of versatility that you can plug in at several spots, Chris.
Well, so Stenchcomb, Oakland uses almost all 15 minutes on the clock. And the New York Football Giants are on the clock. And the fastest their offense has moved in about 2 years, their pick is already up. Lineman, Mel?
They want an offensive tackle. They wanted Thanical last year. They want an offensive tackle that has some versatility.
With the 19th pick, the Giants select Luke Pettigrew, tackle, Notre Dame.
And not many Giant fans were expecting that, Mel.
Well, you thought about Aaron Gibson, offensive tackle with Wisconsin, still on the board at this point, right tackle or guard. Luke Pettigrew is a guy who has gradually moved up the draft board. He's versatile as well, play right tackle or left tackle, deep snapping ability. And you watch Luke Pettigrew, consistent football player. We talked about that with Matt Stenchcomb. I think the Giants know what they're getting. Left tackle here, number 54, drives the defensive end out of the play. Here at the right tackle spot against Arizona State, providing running room as well, again, in pass protection. Decent feet, very strong, did 30 reps at the combine. So a kid who's had a lot of game experience against quality opposition and provides some versatility, just like Matt Stenchcomb. Very similar type of players. Stenchcomb and Pettigrew, and everybody's upset about Aaron Gibson, but Gibson's a right tackle, maybe a guard. Pettigrew does for the Giants provide a little bit more versatility, and Robin Oben could be an unrestricted free agent after the 99 season.
Yeah, very quickly, what's going on in the stands here is that the Giant fans gave the Eagles a hard time because they wanted Ricky Williams. They drafted Donovan McNabb. Well, the Eagles fans have just sent it back to the Giants going, Luke, who? The Giants stink. I mean, it's good. The season is underway. Let's go back to Oakland and their pick of Stenchcomb on the offensive line.
Well, I think you have to take a look at the depth on the offensive line and who lines up on the offensive line. Certainly, if John Gruden is going to want to run his offense with Rich Gannon there now, he's going to need some help. Mo Collins, a young guy, is going to play for him. They get Wisniewski there. Robbins is back. Ashmore, Kennedy. So what happens is you've got some experience and some youth. Now all of a sudden you have an opportunity to add Stenchcomb. You wind up with a young tackle who can come in and play for you. Offensive tackles are so valuable now, especially in the quick set offenses that you see in Green Bay, you will see in Philadelphia, and as you see now in Oakland. I think with Rich Gannon there, you can look for the Oakland Raiders to make a real move offensively to be a lot more productive and cut down tremendously on the sacks that they had last year.
And Steve, it has to be smiling in the same division. Mike Holmgren and Seattle Seahawks. Whereas you look at an offensive tackle and need area, they move down. And here's L.J. Shelton, still there on the board.
Or Gibson.
And then Gibson, but Shelton and Gibson still on the board, particularly L.J. Shelton. You look at a kid who I thought had a great year at left tackle for Eastern Michigan, an outstanding junior year as well. And then in the Senior Bowl, showed that he belonged with those top players from the major conferences. Of course, Shelton played in the MAC, so I'm very surprised that L.J. Shelton dropped all the way down to pick number 20, Joe.
Well, we just took a look at what the Oakland Raiders look like on the offensive line. Now let's take a look at where the Giants are as far as their depth chart goes. Robin Oben, as Mel mentioned, getting a little longer. You're not sure whether he's going to be there. Gragg, a gigantic guy. Engler, Stone, Miles, and Brian Williams is a backup, one injured reserve. But you've got yourself a fairly good offensive line. Certainly when I had a chance to talk to Jim Fossil earlier this week, he said we have to find an offensive lineman. We've done very well in the skill positions. We feel good from our skill standpoint, but we really haven't built the foundation we need. Now comes the beginning of the foundation of the offensive line, Bo.
Well, let me ask you something, since the Giants got on the clock so quickly and got off the clock so quickly in a New York minute. Kerry Collins.
Yep.
Major gamble for Ernie Accorsi for Jim Fossil at quarterback or not?
Not at all. I think Kerry Collins worst years are far behind him. He's grown up a lot. He's learned a lot. You have to look at the starts he's had, played in an NFC championship game. If the Giants were to take a quarterback at this spot, if they wanted to do that, first of all, it would have cost him a lot more than what Kerry Collins cost him. Secondly, you would have never gotten the experience, nor would you have been able to have him ready to play if needed, if Kent Graham can't get the job done. So to me, the Kerry Collins move is a terrific move by Jim Fossil and Ernie to get somebody in there who can play football, if necessary, right away with a lot of experience. Plus, he wanted to go to New York. And I think it's vitally important that guys want to be in certain places.
Here, Joe, here he is, the record of Kerry Collins as a starter. Of course, in '96, as a youngster, he took Carolina to the championship game, a game they lost at the Packers. But the problems in the clubhouse more than anything else, you know, a 2-9, but a lot of work to do.
But you know, so there's so much of what the reflection of that record is that football team fell off the map in a heartbeat. Remember, it was an expansion team. It was put together with veterans. They all got old in about a year, and all of a sudden, bang, they were gone. He really didn't have a lot of support around him either.
Some of the biggest names in football. Mike Ditka had Kerry Collins last year. Bill Polian, who drafted him in Carolina. Their thoughts on Kerry Collins and where he might go.
I think Kerry's really a good person. I really do. I think that like all of us, sometimes we wander through life and we just don't know where the heck we're going at times. We keep bumping into walls. But I think once he figures out where he's going, he's going to go there.
If Kerry's heart is in it, and I can't speak to that, only he can do that, I think it's no risk at all. He'll develop into a fine quarterback. He's done it before. He was 7-6 his first year as a rookie and 12-6 his second year, and then he suffered a tremendously debilitating injury, both physically and mentally, and he hasn't come back from it, but he's done it before. I don't see any reason why he can't do it again.
I was just impressed with Kerry in that he understood that he'd made mistakes. His approach to the game was one thing. He didn't think he worked at it, wasn't serious about it, and I think he is now.
There's always risk in any player movement that you make. We did our homework. There's a lot of talent there. His roots are very similar to mine. I worked at the same school with the same coach a long time before him. So we felt that the percentages were in our favor. We have a tremendous support system there, and we'll find out. You never know. There's no certainty. Somebody said to me, "Are you absolutely sure?" I said, "You're not absolutely sure unless it's Willie Mays. Maybe then you're absolutely sure. Other than that, you can't be."
Hey, look, Kerry Collins is a good kid. He's got a lot of skills, and everyone's rooting for him. But, I mean, Jim and Ernie are on the line a little bit here. And in New York, you're really on the line. We'll be back with Seattle's pick in a moment.
BMW 3 Series sedan from $26,970.
The durable, authentic khaki. It gets better with every wash.
The biggest websites, from Amazon.com to Yahoo. And the biggest companies, from British Airways to General Motors, use Oracle for e-business. Do you? The internet is revolutionizing business. From Egghead.com to eBay. From E-Trade to Excite. The companies that know the internet best use Oracle for e-business. Do you?
We process salt in California and the Caribbean.
I'm on my way.
Extract food and feed ingredients from Iowa corn and soybeans. Supply orange juice to New York, Moscow, and Tokyo. And market farm commodities from elevators across North America, where the flow of grain is, at times, briefly interrupted.
Oh my gosh. Happy birthday, Jim.
Cargill. It's not just what we do, it's how we do it.
For 20 points, can you name the greatest, grooviest, swingin'est 70s sports quiz show ever?
Would you like to try again?
The answer is on ESPN Classic. For 20 points, how do you get ESPN Classic? You've got to call 1-800-CLASSIC to get Sports Challenge and the greatest old-school boxing, baseball, football, basketball, hockey, and so much more. If you've got a need for knowledge, check the facts on Sports Challenge by calling 1-800-CLASSIC to get ESPN Classic today. Are you old school?
We welcome you back to the theater at Madison Square Garden in New York. 3.5 hours through and much more to go. We're with you till 10 Eastern tonight or until round 3 ends. If you're just hopping on, what has happened in the 99 draft? Take you around the league, starting with Sal Paolantonio in Cleveland.
Head coach Chris Palmer told me that even though he acquired veteran quarterback Ty Detmer in a trade with San Francisco, #1 pick Tim Couch will have a legitimate chance to win the starting job. Palmer said it's open competition on the entire roster. In the second round, they have 2 picks. Look for them to go skill position on offense or perhaps defensive line. Now let's go to Sean Salisbury.
Here in Indianapolis, the Colts got exactly what they wanted with their first-round selection. Miami Hurricane running back Edgerrin James, who fills in now that Marshall Faulk's been traded. Head coach Jim Morris said he loves his versatility and that he can stay in on every down. Look for them in the second round to go defense, corner, or linebacker. Now to Andrea Kramer.
Last year, the Minnesota Vikings quarterbacks had a gentleman's bet as to who could overthrow speedster Randy Moss. Well, they may have gotten the winner today when they selected Central Florida quarterback Dante Culpepper with their 11th pick. Now, keep in mind, though, the Vikings lost 4 starters on defense from a year ago, so with the 29th pick of the first round, they're going to look for help at cornerback and defensive line. Now let's head to Ed Werder.
Well, here in New Orleans, earlier this week, owner Tom Benson infuriated the fandom with a $8 across-the-board ticket price increase. Today, they get a player who may be able to fill those seats no matter the cost. Heisman Trophy winner Ricky Williams, Mike Ditka with nothing to do the rest of the day, planning to go out and meet Williams at the plane. Tom Benson's taking his private plane out there to charter Williams back here to New Orleans. He'll have dinner with staff members, including Mike Ditka tonight. Let's go to Solomon Wilcott.
In Foxborough all week, the Patriots were trying to move up in the draft to take either running back Ricky Williams or Edgerrin James. Instead, the Patriots played let's make a deal, and they would jump 3 spots to take Boston College center Damien Woody with the 17th pick. Now let's send it out to Hank Goldberg.
In Miami, I reminded Jimmy Johnson that at the end of last season, he told me his defense is set. The focus is now going to be on offense. And so he took his #4 pick, gave it up for restricted free agent Hunter Goodwin, a tight end from Minnesota. Traded his 5th pick to San Francisco for the big guard Kevin Gogan, and one of his 7th picks to the Giants for running back Tyrone Wheatley. So Jimmy's draft started long before today. More offense to come. Let's go to Tom Jackson.
Here in Denver, Mike Shanahan still has 11 picks on the board and certainly front 7 personnel on the defensive side starting to run low. So if there's going to be a deal, it will probably happen soon. If not, with the 31st pick, we can start thinking about Mike Shanahan moving down and into the second round. Let's go back to Mike Tirico in New York.
Tom, thank you. We've had a trade at pick 20. You see Seattle's on the clock. We can change that now. The Cowboys are on the clock. Mort, why would they make a move up here?
Well, everybody knows that Leon Lett status is hanging in there because of his pending suspension over another positive drug test. They're desperate for defensive linemen. They wanted McFarland. McFarland's off the board. So they got to be looking at somebody like Mike, like Reggie McGrew, the tackle from University of Florida. Now there's Ekubon, there's Lamar King, players like that. But I think they're desperate for a defensive tackle. McGrew would be a logical pick right here.
We'll go backwards 1/2 second. The Giants took Pettigrew, the offensive tackle out of Notre Dame. We should look at the Giants' new assistant coach as part of the influence of that pick.
Yeah, Jim McNally is their new line coach. And I think the Giants hired him because they want their offensive linemen to have an identity. A very tenacious coach, good technician. Jim McNally obviously liked Pettigrew, although some people thought they'd take an Aaron Gibson, who's a very physical guy. But I know this much, McNally is going to have an influence there.
And still on the board, Ed Werder. We're going to bring him in now from New Orleans, where the Saints' work is done. But Ed does have news on the trades that the Cowboys pulled. Ed?
Right, the Cowboys have moved up in a trade with Seattle, moved up 2 picks. They're going to take North Carolina defensive lineman for the 2nd year in a row, Ebenezer Ekubon. Now, even though there's some question about Leon Lett's eligibility because of a failed drug test, they've always felt like their bigger problem was a defensive end rather than defensive tackle. If necessary, they feel they can move Michael Myers or last year's #1 pick, Greg Ellis inside. They need a pass rusher. The last 2 years, their leading stackers only had 6. So that's the move that they're making here with this pick. And they've also signed Quentin Coriat, the outside linebacker, and Daryl Johnson. They've restructured his contract, Mike.
Daryl Johnson was a player they left on the unprotected list in the expansion draft. There was a bit of a surprise there. But Greg Ellis last year, maybe another Tar Heel defensive lineman in a moment. Back to Boomer at the main set.
All right, Michael, thank you very much. A little bit behind the scenes on what Seattle has done from their perspective of it. Remember, they came into this draft with just 5 picks. So they now pick up 2 in the trade with New England. They pick up another one in the trade here with the Dallas Cowboys. So they now have 8 picks. So they're getting back. You know, they can maneuver a little bit, albeit a lot of the picks are not. You know, this one is the here's the first pick. To swap ones, they get a 3 and a 6 from New England. And to swap ones with Dallas, here's the one just made, they pick up a 5. So they pick up a 3, a 5, and a 6, which on paper isn't huge, but when you're only going with 5 picks, that's something that you can work with. Now, from Dallas's perspective, you heard Ed talk about a little bit with Leon Lett, maybe gone a year longer, who knows? This is very smart, and maybe a pick that they might have made anyway, although certainly now a little bit more for need.
Yeah, there's no question. I think the area of need for the Dallas Cowboys certainly focused on the defensive line. If Leon Lett winds up not playing, then it's an excellent move. Even if Leon Lett was there, it was going to be an area of complement. Kavika Pittman, McCormick, these are guys that have really got to be able to come on and be able to play some football. There's no question that the Cowboys have committed themselves to many years with Troy Aikman. We know the new deal that he's signed. That's on the offensive side. They went out and got Rocket Ismail, so they've added that complimentary receiver to Michael Irvin. Now, all of a sudden, what do you do on the defensive side? First, you get Deion Sanders healthy. Then, all of a sudden, you get some defensive linemen. Then we jump to the commissioner because he has more information on where we want to go with the next pick.
Okay, on the trade between Dallas and Seattle. Dallas acquired the 20th pick in this draft by giving to the Seattle Seahawks Dallas's first-round pick, number 22 in this draft, as well as Carolina's 5th-round pick in this draft, which Dallas had previously acquired. That Carolina pick is the 140th pick in this draft. With the 20th pick in the first round, the Cowboys have selected Ebenezer Ekuban, defensive end, North Carolina.
When you look at Ekuban, Chris, you see a kid 6'3", 281, a former tight end. High school early on at North Carolina. But look at that productivity as a senior. This is a North Carolina defense that underachieved somewhat early on, but Ekuban was a steady force the entire way. 96 tackles. You see another sack here. He had 7 on the year, 23 tackles for loss. Very good off the edge. Quick and athletic and strong. And a kid who technically needs to work. It's only 2 years on the defensive line, but he hustles, makes a lot of big plays in the backfield, and as an edge defensive end, a lot of people thought he could come right in and maybe help you off the edge of the pass rusher, but in Dallas with Pittman and Ellis, see how he fits in. Their need really, Joe, was a defensive tackle. Now you have a true defensive end in Ebenezer Ekuban.
Yeah, but then, you know, I mean, you really look at a situation with Leon. I mean, Leon Lett really just changes everything for him. They have to be concerned. If something happens to Leon Lett, I think you can basically say he's gone for his entire career. He was such an impact player, such an important part of what Dallas can do. Now, all of a sudden, they're building up the front with speed. This is a football team now on defense that reminds you a little bit of the days when Jimmy Johnson was there, and they had that speed on the defensive side of the ball. They're starting to get back with productivity as well as speed to be able to put pressure on people.
Ebenezer Ekuban only played 2 years of high school football, so he still has a lot to learn, but you know, it's a great upside to him. And he's a young man that was born in Ghana. So not too many football players in the NFL from Ghana. But we've got one, and we're going to go up to Bristol with Chris Fowler in the gang.
Yeah, Boomer, his family came from Ghana when he was 7 years old. Ebenezer didn't play his first football until 10 years later, but he did grow up admiring another African-born player, Christian Okoye, the Nigerian Nightmare. Ekuban calls himself the Ghana Piranha, and he did chew up some blockers.
Well, he really did. He's only the 2nd defensive lineman picked in this draft. He didn't play high school, like Chris Berman said, till his junior year, and then he enrolled at North Carolina, played 2 years as a tight end, so he's really only been a defensive lineman for 2 years. He's got great upside potential.
I think he does have great upside potential. The thing you have to remember about him is, Coach pointed out, and also Chris Berman, because of his lack of playing time,
still getting a feel for the game, whether it's high school, college, or even pro. It reminds me a little bit of Greg Ellis, who's with Dallas right now because of his speed out on the outside. He really can apply pressure on the quarterback because he just went. Look for Kearney now and King to start the fall, I would think.
Ekibon really replaced Greg Ellis in that defensive line at Carolina. A guy who was drafted number 8 last year. Ekibon now goes to the Carolina parade to the NFL, and the defensive side of the ball continues. Now to Sal Paolantonio in Cleveland. Sal?
Chris, real quick, one team's misfortunes result in the elation of another team. The Dallas Cowboys, everybody thought they were going to take Kevin Johnson, including here in Cleveland, and you can see right here, Chris Palmer, when Ekibon gets picked by Dallas, just goes crazy because he'd like to get Kevin Johnson in that second round, the wide receiver out of Syracuse, Chris.
Well, yeah, different teams have different opinions, certainly on the skills of those defensive pass rushers. Can they get it done? Are they complete players? Just another example of that. Ebenezer Ekibon taken by the Dallas Cowboys as they trade up to get him. NFL Draft will continue from Bristol and New York after this break as we steamroll into the latter stages of round 1.
Presenting the first USA PGA Tour Titanium MasterCard with a 3.9% APR for the first 6 months, just 9.99% thereafter, and a credit limit from $5,000 to $100,000. Think what it could bring you. Greens fees, $116. Graphite shaft clubs, $877. Balls, tees, $36. Hole-in-one. And a witness, priceless. There are some things money can't buy. For everything else, there's the first USA PGA Tour Titanium MasterCard. Call 1-800-371-0065 now. You could save hundreds of dollars by transferring your balances from higher interest rate credit cards. And you'll receive a dozen top flight golf balls free with your first purchase or balance transfer. Call now and request the first USA PGA Tour or Senior PGA Tour Titanium MasterCard or the first USA Titanium MasterCard. Call now for your free gift.
Rick, this is Jim Hopkinson, a producer with ESPN Fantasy Games. Rick, you're a fantasy baseball owner. You going on strike is not going to bring Mo Vaughn back to the Red Sox. Take that up with their management. This is a business line.
Listen here, baby. I have only one burning desire. Let me stand next to your fire.
Back to New York for the last third, if you will, of the first round of the 64th annual selection meeting. And for the second time in this first round, the Arizona Cardinals are on the clock. And Mel, the Cardinals got a receiver for the 3 wideout. Boston in the first round, David Boston, on which they had more than a feeling. And now, look at some of the linemen that have fallen, and they're, I mean, if Arizona wants an offensive lineman, which I think they do, boy, they got great value here, don't
It's
they?
going to work out very well for Arizona. They went for David Boston after Torrey Holt went earlier, did not take John Tate. Tate off the board already to Kansas City, but the number 2 offensive tackle, particularly the number 2 left tackle, L.J. Shelton's still there for Arizona all the way down to 21. Jansen's a right tackle, Gibson's a right tackle, so Shelton is the left tackle that Arizona needs. We talked about the blind side protection for Jake Plum. That's why Tate's name came up at 8. They opted for Boston. Now Shelton's there all the way down in the first round.
Well, Seattle behind them is looking for maybe a lineman, too, as we talked about before, so... there's
How about Lamar King? I mean, Lamar King is a player that we talked about at defensive end, small college player, dominated the Division II level at Saginaw Valley State. He's a player that's going to come into focus as we get into the latter stages of the first round as well.
Well, we got about 8 minutes left on the clock for Arizona's second first-round pick, but it's been a quarterback top of the draft. Of course, that brings smiles to the face of the guys with Mike. Mike?
That's right. Jim Kelly, of course, with us every Sunday on ESPN, and Boomer Esiason, who you see on Monday Night Football. And this is not their draft preparation, trust me. This is my draft preparation, but this is their life preparation for these rookie quarterbacks. You always want to say, oh, these guys should walk right in and start. Boomer, start the process of what is going to change in their lives starting Tuesday, Wednesday?
Well, as soon as they meet with their head coaches, the first thing that's going to happen, they're going to be handed this playbook. And this is the Cincinnati Bengal playbook that I was handed many years ago. So the statute of limitations is up. I can't get fined for this. But this thing has about 350 pages of it. And everything from passing protection to passing routes to running down to running protection to formation, personnel grouping. And this is what they have to learn. Now, the hard thing about that, Mike, is that not only do they have to learn this, but they also have to kind of coincide it with their abilities. And the thing about young quarterbacks is that they're nervous. They're not really sure about what's going on out there, especially when they're playing opposing defense.
All right, they get that thing settled down. Then, Jim, you have another part of Boomer's show and tell to tell us what happens after they learn that.
Well, once they learn that, I mean, that's part of the whole season. They get that once they go to training camp, probably within the next 2 or 3 days. But this is a playbook, not quite as thick as that one, but this is a weekly playbook. Each and every game, they'll have game planning, what running games are, what types of protection. But these guys, you know, we talked about before, it's the physical talent you got to have, but you got to have the mental toughness.
Both of you tell me, how difficult is it for these players? Would it be better if they got out there, got their faces beat in a little bit, and learned some of that through experience, or better to sit and watch?
Well, the thing that I like the best is that Tim Couch has actually signed his contract already. He's going to be in camp. He's going to have Coach Palmer right with him from the get-go, which is going to be really important for him. But even more importantly, I think, is that he has to get to know his new teammates. He has to get the feeling of being around those guys and trying to be a leader. And the hardest thing to do is to gain the respect from the older veterans on your football team when you are this kind of guy and you're making that kind of money.
You put it right, because that leadership is a big part of it. And having the people like you, number one, and for a quarterback making that much money, it's going to be tough.
Well, that's something that worked out well for Jake Plummer in Arizona. The Cardinals have made their latest first-round selection. Now Gene Washington, Director of Football Development for the NFL, with the announcement up on the stage.
The Arizona Cardinals, with the 21st pick in the first round, select offensive tackle L.J. Shelton from Michigan.
It's a good pick, Mel. Real athletic.
I think it might be one of the best picks of the first round right now. I think you talk about steals. L.J. Shelton is a steal at this point in the first round because he's a natural left tackle. Look at the strength and you talk about a mean streak of John Tate. He has it as well. A natural left tackle. Here in the Senior Bowl, neutralizing Ebenezer Ecubon, who just went earlier to the Dallas Cowboys. Here again, left tackle. You see the quickness, the feet, and the balance. This kid's 6'5 1/4", 340 pounds, but tough, explosive, and great movement and mobility. I look at L.J. Shelton as a kid that, you know, you talk about top 10, top 15 in round one, Joe. It would not have surprised if he went that high. You're getting him at 21. They already added David Boston to solidify that third wide receiver spot.
Arizona got exactly what they wanted. They wanted a wide receiver. They wanted an offensive lineman. They wound up going wide receiver first, offensive lineman second. Couldn't have played out any better for him. And like you say, Mel, they get the second best guy that you rate on the board. Now, this is a guy who's 340 pounds, and he can do a split. This is not just a big old guy who lumbers around. This is a young athlete who has a lot of agility and a lot of ability, and they're going to need him to come and play pretty much right away with Lomas Brown moving on to Cleveland from Arizona.
Started 33 straight games for Eastern Michigan, where a year ago he was blocking and protecting the blind side of a quarterback named Charlie Batch, who, of course, is now the starting quarterback of the Detroit Lions. L.J. Shelton, athletic, got great athlete in his genes. His dad, as we mentioned, NBA player, played for the Knicks upstairs. Was a championship team in Seattle in '79, and then finished on his career a little bit later on in the NBA. So Anthony Munoz takes a good look at L.J. Shelton.
The interesting thing about L.J. Shelton is that he started playing football late. In fact, only played 3 games in high school. But you look at his last 33 games in college, and he started all of them. One of the knocks is that he did not get tested with big-time competition. Even with that, all that taken into consideration, he does a lot of great things. He's an excellent football player. The first thing we take a look at here is his footwork. A guy that's 6'5", 341 pounds. How he just glides out in space with quick feet and great agility to get out there on that wide defensive end. Then he bends his knees. Proper technique. Not only at the beginning of the play, but he bends his knees throughout the whole play, which allows him to keep proper technique the whole time. Then balance and strength. Again, it doesn't matter how big you are. You can still be thrown, especially in the NFL. But if you have balance like he shows here, they're not going to throw you. Oh, he almost goes over, but not quite. Then he has a little bit of that nasty streak. All the NFL coaches like that. Also, the thing that helped L.J. Shelton was the great week of practice and the excellent Senior Bowl that he had. And I believe that erased a lot of doubt from the NFL people.
All right, Anthony, thank you very much. And we now have the Seattle Seahawks on the clock. They have moved down twice. They got about 12 minutes left to make their pick. But 2 picks ago, the Dallas Cowboys made a move with the Seahawks to make sure that they could get a pass rusher, Ebenezer Ecobon. And joining us now on our Sprint video conference from Dallas Cowboys headquarters is the owner of the Dallas Cowboys, Jerry Jones. And Jerry, first of all, welcome. And second of all, I guess you've got a guy. I don't know if you've ever drafted a player from Ghana before. This has got to be a first.
Well, we haven't, but we've attempted to draft some players that we felt as good about as Ebenezer. He was very high on our board. We think he can give us some help on our putting pressure on the passer, and of course that's the direction we were headed. We thought that by signing Quentin Coriat, by signing Rocket Ishmael, and earlier Mark Stepnoski, we hoped we could go into this draft and just get the best player available to us at the time. We got a little nervous, so we decided to trade up a couple of spots with Mike Holmgren in Seattle and draft him.
Jerry, how much of this was all of it, part of it, influenced by Leon Lett's situation, and what is his situation?
Well, first of all, Leon is in the program. That's well known, and when you are, you really can't comment about his progress and how he's doing. On the other hand, Ebenezer addresses what we're doing on the outside with pass rush, and so it really did not influence what we were wanting to do here on draft day.
There's a lot of question about how much longer Michael Irvin in particular can be great, how much longer Emmitt Smith can be great. Do you feel this ball club has a chance to make one last run with the great players that you assembled here and won all those Super Bowls with?
Well, Chris, they'd be the first to tell you that those players alone, Michael and Emmitt Smith, can't do it. You've got to have the entire supporting cast to them. But yes, I do. If you look at Denver, you look at Minnesota, you'll see arguably the 2 oldest teams in the league last year. We're pleased to have Aikman signed for the rest of his career. We were really thrilled with the year that Emmitt Smith had. And so Michael Irvin, with Rocket on the other side, providing a lot of speed, and of course our other receivers, I really think that Michael's going to have the kind of year that he's had in the past.
Jerry, hi, this is Joe. Good talking to you again.
Yeah, Joe.
Deion Sanders' status. You lost him towards the end of the season. Really affected what you did, mostly on defense, even a little bit on offense. What is his status right now with that toe of his?
Well, I think anybody would recognize that when you lose a Deion Sanders on your football team, it's going to affect you. We're really very comfortable with where he is with his toe. He's moving around real good. Of course, he played in the Pro Bowl with it, played in our last game with it. It's continuing to improve. And we not only intend to very much obviously have him do what he does for us defensively and return kicks, but we're going to see Deion involved in our offense some this year, too, to add to the speed, and would have been last year had he not got hurt at the end of the season.
Jerry, thank you very much for joining us. We're just teeing it up here for a few more rounds and a few more picks. Thank you. See you later.
Great.
Jerry Jones, owner of the Dallas Cowboys. They won the East last year. I mean, they seem to be apologizing. They did win the NFC East. We'll be back with the Seahawks pick.
A crepe de chine evening clothes. Can you say svelte?
A fabulous Scotty Bass.
What in heaven's name? Oh, it's a black cotton blend with yellow buttons. It reads 1-800-CALL-ATT for collect calls.
Does anybody know where the phone is? I have to make a collect call.
Bravo!
You can win this hot little sweatshirt instantly when you complete a collect call with 1-800-CALL-ATT. It's the same bargain basement rate all the time.
Chevy Tahoe, like a rock.
Underlay, baby.
Welcome to Taco Night at the Andersons.
Dinner.
Well, that was fast.
Bring home the new Grande meal and make tonight Taco Night. Choose any 10 tacos or bean burritos, plus a Nachos Bel Grande, plus a Mexican pizza. All for just $9.99.
Until next time.
Would you like to win a trip to the Brickyard 400 and drive the race parade car home? Here's how. Just follow Steve Park and enter the ESPN Drive at Home sweepstakes, presented by Pennzoil. Watch the Goodies Body Paint 500 on ESPN. Note the Pennzoil car's starting and finishing position. Then, call 1-800-581-3600 or stop by a participating Pennzoil Lube Center and fill out an entry form. You could win a trip to the Brickyard 400 and take home the race parade car or other great prizes.
Back in New York at the draft, Mike Holmgren, his regime as the Seahawks has begun by picking up 3 picks. A third, a fifth, and a sixth for moving down twice in the first round. He now will make the pick. Now to the podium with the first-round pick of 1969 of the San Francisco 49ers, Gene Washington.
The Seattle Seahawks, with the 22nd pick, have selected defensive end Lamar King from Saginaw Valley.
Well, Mel, he moved down 2 from Dallas because either Shelton or King would fall to him, and he takes defensive line help.
Well, he needs it, Chris. I think when you look at L.J. Shelton, you talk about a left tackle who can dominate. Well, Lamar King as a defensive end can dominate as a pass rusher. Division II player, but took over games. I think that's the key to the equation here for Lamar King and the reason why he's a first-round pick. That spin move, getting after the quarterback. Very athletic player. You know, he looks like he's about 270. Well, he's almost 300 pounds. So you're looking at a huge defensive end who can be able to hold up strong at the point against the run, also get after the quarterback. That's his forte. You see the natural pass rush instincts that he possesses, Chris. And I think the key here is at the Division II level, you have to take over games. You have to dominate to be a number one. From the midway point of his senior year, the latter portion, he did that. 13 tackles were lost, 12 sacks. And for Seattle to move down twice and get the player they were originally going to consider, along with L.J. Shelton, they have to be pretty ecstatic, Joe.
Plug him in, Joe. You got Sinclair to rush the passer. You have Cortez Kennedy.
Adams.
You have Adams, who had finally a good year last year. I mean,
Philip Daniels with 6.5 sacks opposite Michael Sinclair. This is a great opportunity to build rotation. I think what Fritz Shurmur wants to do, he just doesn't want to line up with 5 or 6 guys up front. He wants to be able to run 6 or 7 defensive linemen through, keep them fresh out there. That's going to be the big key. Fritz Shurmur is a magician when it comes to moving the people around. Now, all of a sudden, you give him people of equal level. He can keep that same kind of pressure, same kind of intensity on you, and that's why a draft pick like this is so key to what Seattle wants to do on the defense.
Very interesting. Now we have 2 straight picks, one from Eastern Michigan, one from the Cardinals of Saginaw Valley State. Let's go up to Mike Tirico for a moment. Michael.
Big Cardinals fan, old Sag Valley State. Chris Mortensen, as Boomer talked about earlier, a nice move by Mike Holmgren, dropping down 5 spots, but adding picks because he had so few coming in. Give us an overall picture on Holmgren's philosophy and what he's trying to do here.
Well, I think, number one, I think he's kind of put his stamp on himself as a executive coach. Not only that, though, he's showing how much faith he does have in Fritz Shurmur, longtime defensive coordinator. It was Fritz Shurmur who assured the Packers last year that Vonnie Holliday, a defensive tackle, could play defensive end in his defense. And I think that's what he gets with this pick, too. A guy who can play head up, be physical, and that's pretty impressive right now in terms of, I know Fritz Shurmur's pretty happy about this.
Joe rattled through some impressive names. Add Anthony Simmons to that list there, one from last year. They've got some good names on defense, but their performance is pretty bad. 27th ranked overall in the NFL.
Maybe good name doesn't always translate to performance. And I know one thing, Fritz and Mike Holmgren are going to expect their guys to perform.
We talk about assistants a lot. Don't underestimate the value of Fritz Shurmur. The Buffalo Bills are on the clock. Who will be their first-round pick in '99? They're on the clock, and we'll be back with more of the draft after this.
We have in our possession a chip. A chip that could revolutionize medicine as we know it. By performing 100 billion operations a second, this chip could help us heal across continents. We could touch more lives, help people live longer than ever, and give us all more time to cherish the journey's truest rewards. But then we thought, hey, let's use it for games.
VFX BC accelerators. So powerful, it's kind of ridiculous.
You know, that game's a little violent for my taste.
The new Acura RL has distinctive styling to appeal to your elegant side. A performance-tuned suspension to satisfy your assertive side. And a sophisticated front and side airbag system to protect both sides. The new RL from Acura.
With all the attention McGuire got last year, I got jealous. So this year, I'm going for the record. Maybe instead of the big unit, they'll start calling me the long unit.
Getting the opportunity to be in Jerry Maguire, that was a real thrill. Quite a few of us auditioned for parts.
Show me the money!
Show me the money.
Show me the money!
You complete me. You complete me.
Help me help you. Who's coming with me? Who's coming with me? Let's go.
Who's coming with me?
There were a couple of performances that really surprised them.
You had me at hello. You had me at hello.
4 hours in, here is your NFL draft update. Again, quarterbacks taking 5 of the first 12 picks. Couch, McNabb, Smith, Culpepper, and McNown. Combined signing bonuses, maybe $40 million. Patriots swap first-round picks, move up 3 spots to get Damian Woody, a center from nearby Boston College. The Cowboys get a trade and get Ebenezer Ekubon, the pass rusher. So 8 out of the last 9 picks have been pure linemen. The 9th guy is Javon Kearse, who does rush the passer. But another guy who also plays linebacker, still undrafted, the big cat from Ohio State, Andy Katzenmoyer.
Well, he's a great high school player. He has all the measurables, 6'2", 248, can run a 4.5 40. And when you look at him, they talked about last year, may have lost interest in college football. He's a sure tackler, made a lot of big plays as a freshman, Kirk. Made a hit here on the Iowa back. As a linebacker, you've got to have very good lateral movement. You've got to be able to close on the football and then finish off and make the hit. Andy Katzenmoyer can move 4.5 40. Diagnosing the play, reading blocking schemes. And that's the biggest question I hear from pro teams is whether he can keep blockers off his legs. If he came out last year, Chris Kirk, he would have been a top 10 pick. They said he may have lost interest in college football last year.
Well, I think one of the reasons some people may evaluate Andy Katzenmoyer and think that he lost a little bit of interest in the game is because he's not a real emotional player. He never has been throughout his entire career. He's not a guy that's going to make a play, jump up, and get crazy. But he is a physical freak, 6'3", 255 pounds, runs a 4.48 in the 40. I think some of the NFL personnel right now are looking at Andy Katzenmoyer, and they're questioning the instincts, the fact that blockers did get up in his legs, and that's why I think he's starting to slide a little bit here in the first round.
A lot of physical freaks have flopped. He's got to prove that he loves football. Very few linebackers have ever succeeded without having that passion and that drive and that need to be an aggressive, great football player. We'll see if Katzenmoyer can do that for whatever team drafts him. Now for an update down to Hank Goldberg in Miami. Henry, some news?
Yeah, you know, Jimmy's been jonesing for a phone call. He wanted to get into the action. He did. He gave up his 24th pick coming up in this draft to number 27, where San Francisco now moves up. So in addition to that, they get the first pick that San Francisco had in the 5th round. That's number 134. Now, remember, San Francisco was holding another Dolphins pick in the 5th round. They had given it up for Kevin Gogan. So he gets back a 5th-round pick. He's at 134 there, and he gets the 27th pick in this round. And don't be surprised if he trades down again, because he's still looking for running backs, and a few of them will be there early in the 2nd round. Or he could go with Rob Conrad in this round, the running back from Syracuse. Let's go back to New York.
All right, Hank, thank you. So that a swamp of picks right below where we are right now in Buffalo. San Francisco wants to come up to make sure they get a defensive tackle that they want. Now, Buffalo, I'm going to take a guess here. You know, I talk to that same cab driver that I do every year. It's amazing how that works.
Same guy picks you up all the
guy
time.
always knows.
Unbelievable when you're coming into town.
Not that this is unguessed. I mean, a lot of people have guessed this one. Buffalo will go with Antoine Winfield, cornerback, Ohio State. I know he's short, but they're in a division, and they watch Aaron Glenn excel for the Jets. And if I had to take a stab, that's who I think.
How many people do you think really are buying that line after all these years?
That cab driver, I tell you what.
Your guesses are, the man is unbelievable when it comes to guessing. I'll tell you what we do. Why don't we do this?
We'll take a cab up to the podium.
Take the guesswork out of it. Let's go talk to Gene.
The Buffalo Bills, with the 23rd pick, have selected defensive back from Ohio State, Antoine Winfield.
You're unbelievable.
That guy's unbelievable, that cab driver. Hey, Winfield is not, he is, by some they'll call him the best pound-for-pound player in the draft. You agree with that?
I'll tell you, one of the toughest players at the cornerback position, Chris, to come out in a long, long time. The corner blitz, you see him here on 2 plays, just dominate off the edge. 214 career tackles for a cornerback is amazing. Decent ball skills here, making the play in coverage. You'll see another pass breakup here as well. You're looking at a kid 5'8.5", at good recovery speed, not great recovery speed. Adequate leaping ability, 38.5 vertical jump, but he doesn't have those special, skills as a jumper or in terms of recovery speed. We'll see if he can compensate for being 5'8.5". That's the question, Joe. In a league dominated by big wideouts, Ken Winfield at 5'8.5" get the job done.
Yeah, but you got Mark McMillan. He's sort of like the little cornerback's hero. Here's a guy who's come on. Nobody thought could play real well, and yet he did a terrific job for Kansas City. All Mark McMillan ever does is play good football for everybody, even though he's a smallish type of a corner. I think this kid can come in and be the same type of a player.
Hey, they saw what happened when Thomas Smith got hurt last year. They lost Burris. They had some injuries there. Kerner Urban. This is a good pick for Buffalo, a position of need, and a tough player in Antoine Winfield. That's who they had eyed all along. They were hoping that he would fall through because of the size. They're not scared off of the size. Buffalo is very happy right now. Also, I think happy right now, let's go out to the beautiful Pacific Northwest and join the coach / general manager / executive vice president of the Seattle Seahawks, Mike Holmgren. Mike, that's a lot of baggage there. A lot of titles. And you also picked up draft picks here, Michael. I mean, you were dealing and still got a player who you were looking for. Were you nervous after a while that a couple of these players you might have made one deal too many?
Well, that always crosses your mind, Chris. In fact, I was thinking about making one more, and then I got, it was kind of like the Philadelphia reaction by the people in the room. So, no, we're very, very happy, though, we got Lamar, and it was the guy we wanted. And then we were fortunate enough as well to pick up some picks. We only had 5 coming in, so this helps us a little bit. Now we can play a little bit the next 2 days.
Well, you probably from Green Bay snuck over once to Saginaw Valley State and nobody recognized you at the game. Assess, if you will, for us, what you have found now to be on the roster of the team overall. Is this a team loaded and ready for a big-time move, you hope, this year? Do you have the guns to challenge Denver, at least in that division?
Well, you know what? Denver is a fine football team, and the division is very strong. It remains to be seen. I was very pleased with our first mini camp, however, and I believe we have a chance to be a good football team. There's pretty good talent here. Some of our key people, particularly at quarterback, we have a young quarterback. He has to come through for us. But our defense appears to be pretty sound. And then with the addition of this young man, Fritz is going to be able to shuttle those guys in, keep them fresh. And I like our football team right now.
Mike, you've gotten a look now at Jon Kitna. You only saw him a little bit on film, but now you had the mini camps. He's a youngster that shows a lot of promise. You also traded for Glenn Foley. Is it Kitna's job, and how good could he be from your first assessment?
Well, Chris, it's real early. But right now, John's our starting quarterback, and Glenn knew that coming in, and I'm pretty upfront with those guys. Glenn came in and had a good mini camp as well, however, but it is mini camp, and I think you would like everything about Jon Kitna just as I do. He's just inexperienced and hasn't played a lot. So time will tell, but I like what I see so far.
What's the most important thing that has to happen for the Seahawks to make a serious challenge? Obviously, the play at the quarterback, but you have some Pro Bowl players, like a Joey Galloway, a guy who was great, and Ricky Waters running the football, some defensive guys you meant. What are 1 or 2 things that has to happen for this team to go from 8-8 to 11-5?
Well, from a very practical standpoint, you have to eliminate a lot of mistakes that took place last year. We had way too many procedure penalties. We had fumble snaps from center. We had unusual penalties in crucial times. Things that are correctable, I think, with a very disciplined type of approach to what you do. The second thing is
as far as attitude, I believe, you know, you got to create that belief that good things are going to happen and you're going to do well. And we've started doing that. The guys really want it. They really want to do well, and now we have to have some success, get them believing in our program, and then I think we have a chance.
Well, you'll be busier than you thought the next couple of days with the extra picks you got. Thanks. And in a time warp, we're going to go from you, and now we're going to watch Bill Walsh work at Draft Room. It is a time warp, isn't it?
Very much so. You know what? He phoned me. We talked this morning, and I know he's happy to be back in there wheeling and dealing.
Well, and no one wheels and deals like he does.
Nobody.
You've taken a page from his book today. Thanks, Mike. See you later.
All right, Chris.
Mike Holmgren of the Seahawks. The Niners are on the clock. We shall return.
When it comes to building a comfortable home, you certainly have your options. But making your home feel as good as it looks requires an essential. Ask for Tyvek Home Wrap from DuPont. It helps keep weather out, comfort in, and that's basic to better building.
Call 1-800-HAIR-CLUB right now for a free brochure. Your free hair, all you have to do is prepay for a basic club plan. That's it.
Can't believe you can slick it straight back and it still looks natural. I love it. I've never felt this good after a haircut.
You don't feel any difference in this hair, you know, any hair. And it still stays, see?
So call 1-800-HAIR-CLUB right now for a free brochure.
Sports Century's 50 Greatest Athletes, a year-long celebration. Number 39, Walter Payton. Friday at 10:30 on ESPN. Presented by General Motors.
Chevy Tahoe, like a rock.
This ESPN News presentation of the 1999 NFL Draft is brought to you by Taco Bell.
Back in New York, the San Francisco 49ers are on the clock because of the trade they made a few moments ago with the Miami Dolphins, moving up 3 spots in the first round. And in exchange, as Hank Goldberg reported, Miami gets one of San Francisco's 5th-round picks. Well, this is the new old brain trust of the San Francisco 49ers, and it is a time warp, isn't it? Hall of Famer Bill Walsh, his right-hand man through all the glory years in the 80s, John McVay, and his successor eventually, or the man he is grooming, Terry Donahue. They're the ones calling the shots. Why might San Francisco have moved up a few spots? If they're looking for help along the defensive line, which they should, and Reggie McGrew would be the next guy there, and he might not be there if they waited 3 more picks. That might be what they were thinking. For more, let's go to Minnesota and Andrea Kramer. Andrea.
Yes, Chris. If anyone knows San Francisco, it's going to be you, and I think that you are correct because I just spoke to the Niners War Room, and indeed, the top player they are considering is defensive tackle Reggie McGrew from Florida. Keep in mind, Chris Dolman is likely retired. Bryant Young, coming back from a devastating leg injury suffered late in the season, may come back early in the year, but they'd like to have some insurance hedge that they don't need to get him back until October. They would move Junior Bryant out to end, gives them a little bit more flexibility. They can put McGrew in there, just solidify that line, give them some depth. So it does look like the Niners could take Reggie McGrew. Of course, you think Bill Walsh wanting to make his mark with a quarterback, but instead could be McGrew. Let's head back to New York right now, Chris.
Yeah, that would make sense, Andrea, and you're dialed in there as well, no pun intended. They have to. Andrea just laid out the injuries and the retirements, Dolman, although they hope that Haley comes back. But remember, this was a team that invented, in some ways, the 6, 7, 8-man shuffle on the defensive front. So even if those guys weren't hurt for questions, they might do that.
With the 24th selection in the first round, the San Francisco 49ers select defensive tackle Reggie McGrew from Miami.
Well, so they get the pick from Miami, and they take a guy from Miami.
Chris, I talked about Antoine Winfield from Ohio State dominating in terms of the run on corner blitzes with his 214 tackles. Reggie McGrew in the SEC for Florida, the same thing, a dominator behind the line of scrimmage, making plays, creates the fumble there. You see the quickness, 6'2.5" at 307. 30 reps at the combine, so tremendous strength and quickness allows him to take over games when he's healthy. But in the 3 years he was a starter, missed some playing time with some injuries, so that's a real concern going in, durability. Can he hang on and start 16 games? A marathon season in the NFL, when over his 3 years in Florida, he started 28 games, but did miss some time with injuries. So if you keep him healthy, he could be a great player, Chris.
Well, you know, Mel, I'll take it.
Go ahead, Joe. I mean, he's powerful. He's powerful. He's quick. It's just an injury question.
And not only that, you just don't know about Brian Young. Brian Young had the compound fracture of the leg. He has a rod in it. The fact that the rod is in, I think, is going to give him a chance to come back. I don't think he's going to be ready in the beginning of the year. Brian Young with 9.5 sacks. As Andrea mentioned, moved Junior Bryant outside, Gabe Wilkins, Marvin Washington there. Now all of a sudden you come back and you really need the tackles. I think it's very important in the San Francisco defensive philosophy that they've got tackles to anchor the middle. They need to push up the middle. They like to push up the middle. They can flush people out so their ends can be productive, especially the elephant ends, the smaller defensive ends that are able to put pressure on the quarterback. So here's a bigger guy that can come in and play in the middle again for you.
Let me go back to Dallas, Joe. They needed defensive tackles. They took the defensive end Ecubon. Would McGrew have been a better fit for the Cowboys, knowing Leon Lett's situation, knowing how desperate they are for defensive tackles?
Not necessarily, and the reason I say that is simply because it looks to me like Dallas is trying to go back with speed on the front. So you're basically not necessarily going with the bigger guys. You're going with the quicker, faster guys. So if it's a philosophical change which they want to get on defense, I think the choice of the smaller guy, quicker end is a better choice.
I mean, you saw the chart there a moment ago. I mean, you know, there's no Barker, there's no Dolman. Brian Young, I don't know, is going to be ready to go in the beginning of the year. So.
I don't think he will, Chris. I mean, it'd be a miraculous recovery if he could. I think he'll be back at some point during the season, but certainly I wouldn't expect him back before week 6 or 7.
And Steve Mariucci will take some rush, because rushing the passer will make your DBs, which was also a question for them last year, better players. Now let's go down to Miami, who was the other half of the trade, and Hank Goldberg. Hammer.
Boomer, you guys didn't think that Jimmy Johnson was going to sit there with just 5 picks, did you? Now he goes to 27. Then he trades again with Detroit. Picks up their 2nd, 3rd, and 5th round picks, number 39, number 70, and number 142. So effectively, what Jimmy has done now, combined with the San Francisco deal, is he got out of the first round where he was sitting at number 24, picks up a 2, a 3, and 2 5s. Let's send it back to Chris Mortensen in New York.
Well, Hank, I think there's another happy fellow, and that's Ray Rhodes right now, the new coach of the Green Bay Packers. Ron Wolf right here has always targeted Antoine Edwards, the Clemson defensive back, for this pick. Antoine Edwards, a big physical defensive back. Pass coverage was a weakness with the Packers last year. And I think that when you look at Emmett Thomas, the new defensive coordinator of the Packers, and Ray Rhodes, another great defensive coach. Philadelphia last year with these two men, #1 in pass coverage, Antoine Edwards, Chris Berman, adds to that depth, or it really makes this a better secondary, I think.
Yeah, well, I mean, we can remember the two teams we were just talking about more, San Francisco and Green Bay, that marvelous playoff game. But if you really look at it from a defensive coordinator's point of view, neither could really stop the other's passing attack. So that would make sense. We'll try to make some more sense, and we return with the Packers on the clock late, round number 1.
For centuries, our kings were cursed. Their sedans had narrow handrails, making them hard to control in the corners. Sadly, many kings lost their thrones. Eventually, it was learned, wider is better.
With its speed-sensitive steering technology, the White Track Grand Prix gives you precise control of the corners.
Ancient scriptures still read, Yoyangbo Takido.
Wider is better. The White Track Grand Prix by Pontiac.
Lost again? I'm gonna call our manager. You got some change?
Change? I see you fellas ain't from around here. We down 1-800-CALL-ATT. We call collect. See, with 1-800-CALL-ATT, you pay one low rate all the time. No restrictions.
Let's bounce.
Throw your hands up. Throw your hands up.
It's your birthday. Go, Granny. 1-800-CALL ATT for collect calls. One low rate all the time.
Edgar and I have so much in common. It's like we were long-lost brothers. We both have larger-than-average ears.
We both have pretty straight hair.
It's creepy. And get this. We both love the taste of Miller Lite because of the choice hops. It's like we were separated at birth. Actually, George, I think Miller Lite tastes great because it's smooth. Excuse me? I like the smoothness. Who are you?
Miller Lite, the great taste of a true Pilsner beer.
Welcome to the Super Lottery Drawing. This week's jackpot is $15 million, so let's get to it. The first number is
29.
The second number is
15.
the third number.
7.
The fourth number.
It's time for E-Trade, the #1 place to invest online.
The durable, authentic khaki. You'll wear out before they do.
Back in New York, late in the first round, the Packers on the clock. Mel, best players available. What's your reshuffled board?
Well, Jansen and Gibson, Chris, right tackles. Katson Moyer sliding down. Not a big-time year like he had as a freshman. Johnson, wide receiver return man. It could be a good late first, early second. Cecil Collins, be interesting to see if Jimmy Johnson has positioned himself in the early second round to acquire Collins. And Sean King, sixth best quarterback, but could be a late first, early second rounder. And Antoine Edwards, a kid I really like. He can play cornerback, he can play safety, versatile football player. And on the football field, Chris, he makes big plays.
The Packers on the clock with about 8.5 minutes to go on their pick. Then Jacksonville, now Detroit, as the trade reported by Hank Goldberg. New England, Minnesota, Atlanta, and Denver. And then we will be done with round number 1 of this, the 64th annual selection meeting. The Green Bay Packers, first year they really went a little bit backwards. And, of course, the new coach, Ray Rhodes, with the general manager, Ron Wolf, who built that team along with Mike Holmgren. So now, not that they went backwards that far, but they were supplanted as division champs. They want to get it back. Here's maybe the first step. Let's go to the podium.
With the 25th pick, the Green Bay Packers have selected Antoine Edwards, defensive back, Clemson.
Well, that makes sense, Mel, because, we talked about the DBs on both San Francisco and Green Bay.
Ron Wolf gets a heck of a player. We just mentioned him with the versatility to play corner or safety, and I think you watch him at the cornerback position, the reaction to the football, the hands for the interception here against North Carolina. Look at the timing, the awareness in coverage. A very confident young man here against Florida State. Another opportunity in coverage to break up the pass play. So you're talking about a kid who's gone up against big-time opponents here, making up ground in a hurry. Here's a return where you'll see some athleticism and quickness as well as a burst. And he applies that ability in coverage as well. This game was against Virginia. Here against South Carolina. Picks off the pass, takes it to the house. So you're talking about a kid experienced against Torrey Holt this past year. Had a real good first quarter and a half, then a little banged up. When he left the game, Torrey Holt had a heck of a performance. So Antoine Edwards, a cornerback or a safety, around a 4.52 during an individual workout. Some teams thought that maybe he's just a safety, but with the pads on, Antoine Edwards, I think, has enough recovery speed to begin his career as a corner, then maybe move inside the safety. Nice pick for the Packers.
Well, it is a good pick because now all of a sudden you got a little flexibility with Darren Sharper. You've got your corners outside. Remember the division they play in. You've got the Minnesota Vikings out there, and then you start to take a look at the combinations they're up against. Carter and Moss, Moore and Morton, Conway and Ingram, Anthony and Emmanuel. You've got some wide receivers in this particular division that you have to be able to line up and have a good, solid corner with. But the other thing is, you start to bring in a Matthew Hatcher up in Minnesota. Now all of a sudden it's the 3 wide receiver set. And we heard one of the general managers talk about the fact you've got to have 3 corners today to line up in the secondary. You basically start 3 corners. If your free safety can't cover, you're really at a disadvantage on the defensive side of the football. So consequently, he becomes an excellent pick, in particular in this division.
Well, let's go to the guy that made the pick. Ron Wolf, general manager of the Packers. Thanks to our Sprint video conference. And he joins us now from Packers headquarters. And Ron, good afternoon to you. Do you...
How are you doing?
Good. How are you?
Doing well.
A lot of folks
It's
were
a long
wondering
day back
whether...
here, Chris.
It sure is. Hey, Antoine Edwards, can he play corner or safety in your evaluation, or is he just a safety?
He's a corner in our evaluation. There's only been a corner in our evaluation. I say that primarily because of what Joe Theismann was just alluding to, the fact of the size of the receivers in the NFC Central. We had to get somebody that can take that away, and we need big people. It's a different game for us up here when you consider the receivers that we just mentioned. That's why Edwards is such a good pick for us, we think, right there.
Defensively, Ron, you know, it was the wild game. It was a great game for the fans against San Francisco at the end of the year. But defensively, is that where you're headed here primarily in this draft, or is that hard to say at this point?
No, it's not hard to say. We're going to stay on the defensive side. We don't have enough defensive backs. We're probably going to use maybe 4 more choices on defensive backs.
Wow, that would be a big number. Hey, meanwhile, Antonio Freeman, it could be a tough summer with him. Robert Brooks has been injured. Where do you stand with those guys, wide receiver, Ron?
Well, I really think it's important that we get the Antonio Freeman thing done, and we're doing everything in our power to do that. Robert Brooks is the consummate pro. We're going to let him tell us whether or not he can play. If he can't play, that's a serious blow to us. It's not looking that way, though, right now, Chris.
Ron, thank you very much, and we will talk to you a little bit later on. You're right. It is a long couple of days. Thanks.
Thank you.
Ron Wolf, one of the best at his trade, bar none. General manager